Tribe of Nerds.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds. We are back for the post-merge section of Titans versus Rebels. Matt, Michael, and I, and of course, Eden is back once again to talk more Titans versus Rebels. So very excited for that. Let's get into the post-merge and the largest merge ever with 14 people, which is crazy that you guys got that distinction. I mean, I never would have thought, like, I thought the max was always going to be like 12 or 13 even, and then like the fact that they go even more is just crazy.
Yeah, so did I. And knowing the game, I was like, well, we're not quite merging yet.
Mhm.
There's still going to be a couple more episodes, and then they really did. The producers really liked throwing curveballs this year, and I think it's because coming off the back of an all-star season, a lot of people started to get into that habit of, yeah, this happens now, this happens now, this is the, and I think they purposely wanted to shift that and make it harder for people to plan out their game and be like, okay, well, now we can vote off Riri because we've got another vote here and we could throw this one, but you just never knew exactly what was happening around the corner. So it was really, yeah, 14 people is massive.
Mhm.
And it was really a tough time trying to form connections and talk to everyone in such a short amount of time. Because then, 14 people? You need an 8-person majority to get
Yeah,
anything done.
it's
That is
insane.
absolutely huge to try and get 8 people to agree on anything. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
it was hard. It was really hard.
And
yeah,
and we arrive at merge on day 26 when in the US they'll be sipping champagne and eating cold
Yeah.
pizza. So hang your head in shame,
I
America.
I was talking a lot of. I'm like, guys, we've nearly beaten new era like players like for their whole season stuff
Yeah,
like that. I was like,
you're a
go
new
team.
year winner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And speaking of the merge, Eden, you have another amazing quote. Now I made the merge. I'm dateable.
Dateable, baby.
yes.
It's good. I tried to get as many of those Survivor references in as I could throughout my time there. Not all of them made the cut, but I'm really glad some of the big iconic ones did, like that one. That was, yeah, I was pretty happy with that. Merge,
Yeah.
I
merge,
just love the
everyone.
idea of like non people who hadn't seen the US just watching and going, what's he talking about? He's
What is he
dating
talking
now?
about? I know
Yeah.
this guy.
I thought he was
this-
married. This is weird.
Yeah. Wait, who's Kat Ederson?
Yeah, exactly. I'll come back for a blood versus water with Hayden Moss.
Oh my God, that would actually be amazing. Sign me up for that one.
Yeah, anyway, we can get Hayden back. That'll
Yeah. I'll start dating him. It'll be great. Excellent.
Yeah, so we also get the first individual immunity challenge, which is the they have to use
The
their
Bo
legs.
Diddley.
Yeah.
The Bo Diddley.
It's the bow with the ball on top, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Like that, I could have done that ball forever. It was the balancing on the very, very tiny thin. I was fine all the way up until the very, very end, and then it was just a matter of time. Like that just became really hard. And anyone that like Valeria having a dancing background,
Mhm.
she really worked out. I would have loved to have just been standing there with my ball, just doing the balancing. I think I could have done that for forever. But I love that challenge. I love stuff like that. It was, yeah, that to me, that was like, oh wow, this is real Survivor.
Yeah.
Like we're all here in the line. Yeah, it was so good.
And you did an amazing move. You decided to get to squat doing it and then stand back up and still pull it off.
The classic Eden Porter squat. So that came up a few times in the show. I just have this ability for a tall guy to really get my feet flat in the ground, squat down into it, and I can sit in that position for a long, long time. And it was even balancing like that. And it was funny. JLP, he ripped into me for it. Absolutely ripped into me. He's like, this is terrible. And then I dropped my Arrested Development quote, which is, JLP, I think I've made a huge mistake.
Yeah.
Ended up getting back out of it, which was pretty fun. But I was doing all sorts in that challenge. I was talking to my mum. I was like, Mum's watching this right now. She'll be so proud of me. And talking to the ball, like, just don't fall, mate. Just don't fall. Come on, get in the zone. You got this. And that was the 60K as well.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. That would have been huge to win that. yeah, Valeria got across the line for that one, and I think I came fourth. I think I was just behind Scotty and
Reef,
Scotty
of course.
and Reef, yeah,
Yeah,
and
of
Reef, of
course.
course, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
It-
So Valeria's gonna win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then she also gets the special advantage, which I wanted to ask you about, Eden. Do you think this is because the merge happened so early that they just had her sit out and then also have the bed because there may not have been enough room in the
Yeah, room in the shelter.
Shelter, yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty squishy. It honestly was really squishy. And it did help. It did help the numbers that she wasn't doing. It made it easier to get them to to sort of get things working, because trying to get 8 now it sort of moved back down to 7 and stuff, which was better, but it was that many people trying to get across the decision. And oh, dude, I would have loved to have had a night's sleep in that bed. That bed looked so comfy. Oh, it's awesome. But they had to dismantle Jaden's gym to move it in there, and he was no happy about that.
You lift the bed.
Yeah. It is, production wise, it's so cool when you get back to camp and there's this entire thing built in your camp area. You're just like, these guys are incredible that they can just knock this sort of stuff up. Then you go to a challenge, come back, and it's gone. And you're like, what? Yeah, it looked really good.
Yeah. Yep. And this next challenge is the one I was thinking of, where you're trying to hold up the thing with the ball with your legs. And this is the one that Winna ends up winning, because Jaden gives it up because he thinks the necklace is too girly.
Yeah. Ridiculous. That's a classic deflection of realizing that he was not going to win and wanting to put something out there that's like, oh well, it's just girly, and I'll just give up, because that's better than actually like losing. And then Winner, I tell you what, this wasn't actually great for Winner, because I think this put Winner's name up there as a threat, as someone that can win challenges. And honestly, he was not sort of a target in anyone's mind at that point. And then I think winning this one sort of did say, oh, okay, Winner's quite, like, he's quite a threat moving forward. This challenge was not for me. I didn't like this challenge. I hated this challenge. I thought it was a gym. It was just like it didn't feel like a proper sort of survivory challenge to me. And there wasn't a lot to it. And I wasn't good at it either. So that was terrible. It was probably the worst. And this one was based off your body weight as well. So there was no chance that I was going to get very far in it. But yeah, good on Winner. Good, like, Winner was fit. And Winner was really fit.
He was the winner.
Yeah, so then we get back to camp, and this is going to lead to the tribal where Scott ends up leaving. But this is where a bunch of stuff goes on, and it seems like Kitty's going to be a target for the Rebels side. And then who are you guys targeting again at this point?
Ray. So we put Ray out there. Yeah,
yeah.
Because we thought that Kirby could still possibly wouldn't mind weakening Feras, but keeping Feras in the game, because I was pretty aware that Kirby was wanting to keep Feras in the game, this shield strategy, because it was similar to some of the things that I was doing. And so to get rid of Ray, I thought that was sort of this is we're not going to get rid of Ferris's idol, because we're not splitting with this many people. So we could probably target Ray at this point. And coming into merge, you just sort of pick someone. You're like, okay, this is the person. And then everyone, because no one really knows where everyone stands. It's really hard to have conversations with everyone because there were so many people there and it was such a short amount of time. But this is probably one of the times where the Kitty thing got momentum and I wasn't really aware of it. Like, it was like, yeah, things could possibly happen, but there was a locked in plan that Kitty was going home. And Mark was really quick to jump on that. He was off to the races. He was like, oh, great, cool. Yep, I can get some revenge. And I'll jump over on that side. And then he found out that, like, Valeria and Kirby were really good friends, so they wanted to sort of stay together and vote together. And then because of how everything else played out, I remember Mark said, just don't mention it to Eden, because Eden's really close with Kitty. So make sure he doesn't know about it, and we'll be fine. And so everyone was told, yeah, don't tell Eden about this. And I just didn't have the social capital at that point to because my social capital was with Charles's, with Kitty, with Caroline, with Mark, and stuff like that, and a bit with Riri. But obviously, Ree was back in with Kirby, and she was very keen to solidify her relationship with Kirby. And then Alex, at the time, I didn't realize that Alex had a conversation with Kitty and had basically blown up our relationship by saying to him, "Yeah, oh yeah, we're all getting rid of you." Eden was on board with it, everything. And then I tried to talk my way out of it with Alex. I was like, "Well, no, man, it was up in the air." And he went back to Mark and just said, "Oh yeah, Eden's lying to my face." And then Mark and me had a conversation. He's like, "Yeah, like Alex is dead to us. Like Alex is not going to work with us moving forward." So, okay. So yeah, this is when a few things started to fall apart. But ultimately, it was a couple of conversations that I had with Scotty, and that Scotty and Kitty had together. And Scotty had sort of said, "Hey," told us, Kitty's going home. Like this is happening. And then he started feeling bad that someone was going to go home when his heart wasn't in it and stuff like that. And then that all sort of panned out the way that it did. And I think the show handled it pretty well.
Yeah. I think they did it the best they could.
Yeah. And I'd made it known. I was like, look, if someone wants to leave, they should leave. We shouldn't go to a vote. Kirby was trying to be very tricky in this point, which I didn't care for. And this is when I was really like, yeah, Kirby's like going balls to the wall. So this was the point where Kirby still wanted to vote. She's like, "Scotty, you can quit. That's fine, but we'll vote for you. But what we're going to do is we're going to throw a bunch of votes on Alex. So then Alex uses his idol and burns his idol, but then Scotty still goes home. So everyone's got to do this sort of thing." So she was trying to make Alex paranoid enough, even if they were going to vote off Kitty, to still get Alex to burn his idol. And I was very adamant to say, "No, this is when it's really funny." I said, "No, if you want to quit, go home, because if Scotty wants to quit and we're all voting for him, and then I know that Riri has an idol, then Riri could play the idol on Scotty and Scotty would stay in the game and someone else would go home." And that's exactly what ended up happening a few episodes later with Ray. But at the time, I was running the numbers and I said, "No, we shouldn't go to vote, because they could use an idol on the person that they say is sick and wants to go home, and this could all be a facade," which is so annoying that I wasn't there for the Ray thing, because my radar would have been up for that a million miles. But yeah, and then look, Scotty.
Are you saying having Kirby hand the immunity necklace to Rianna would have triggered something? That doesn't make sense.
Yes, funny about that. Very good pick up there, buddy.
Yeah.
Outrageous.
So Scott's unfortunately going to leave, and we are going to head to episode 14, and this is the Winna Boot episode. Anything else about this episode before we get to the challenge and the tribal?
Yeah, I know we're trying to get through this quick, but I just wanted to bring up the immunity challenge. This is where you hold onto the rope and perch on a ball of rope. And I have a quote from Eden. We're going to the top knot. Fuck.
Yeah, the top knot was I could do a lot of those the bottom ones, and again, comes down to mental fortitude a lot of the time. Like, just stay in it. It was wet, it was cold, it was gross. But that top knot, I just couldn't get my feet to work at that. So, and a lot of it was upper body strength, like hauling yourself up to that top knot and then sort of holding yourself there. And I don't have great upper body strength, so that was going to really hurt me. But good. I'm glad I can put that down in my lexicon of Survivor quotes.
Well, speaking of that, at Tribal, you have another great one. It was Survivor speed dating.
That was really fun. I had a bunch of analogies that I was keen to bring up at tribals and stuff like that, because I wanted our tribals to be fun and have those moments where other people could then pick up and run with stuff. And so that was good. And then I got the bell in and everything. So that was also something that I was really happy with. And then everyone ran with that. Then we talked about catfishing people, and then JLP, you could have seen when I brought it up, his eyes like lit up and he's like, "Oh, this is great." And then he starts the whole, like, "Did you find a romantic connection tonight?" And maybe and then it just gave him so much fodder to ask. That was a fun tribal. But it was strange in the dynamic that the decision had been made. And it was one of the few tribals where nothing changed at tribal council. There's no extra discussions. Everyone went in there going like, "This is what we're voting for." But the tribal council, so the content of the tribal council, it was that classic, like, talk a lot, but don't say a lot. there was a lot of just talking around things and like, yeah, look, we've all done this, but it was just fun because it had this theme and this analogy around it. It was really interesting. But this is when we sort of Caroline and Kitty came back from the trouble before, and we realized that Kitty was going to go home, and they went all out.
Mm-hmm.
They went, okay, we're just going to talk to everyone. And it came across, I had a conversation with Mark, it didn't come across well. It looked desperate and it looked like, okay, we're just going to talk to everyone. But Feras took them in. Feras and Ray said, yep, we'll work with you guys. That's great, because Feras wanted to get rid of the three Titans that had taken out Garrick. And he knew that Kirby and Valeria were close. And obviously Winner and Jaden were close. So that cut off a whole side of the tribe to help that happen. So then he had to use people like Caroline, Kitty, and myself to get those votes across the line. And at that, again, being left out of the vote before, the true target was a bit of a wake-up call for me as well. I said, okay, cool, I'll just put my head down and I'll just say, yep, whatever you guys want to do, I'll come along and I'll vote for that. And that person was Winner. And I'd actually mentioned Valeria to Ray and Feras. They sort of said, oh, who you guys think? Valeria had just won $60,000. She'd done the balancing thing really well. I was like, I'd actually think Valeria's probably a bigger target, but they wanted Winner. And so they went ahead and Winner. And this was one of the reasons where I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to have any sort of agency with this group. I was sort of putting a few seeds out there, and it was very clear that whatever was in their head, they wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And so that would then, again, snowball into what happens next episode.
Sadly.
Yeah, we can't put it off any longer, Eden.
Yeah, and I just want to say, like, how weird it is for the jury to not start for, like, I mean, I get the Scott quit, but like Winna was the merge boot, probably should have just like had him be the last.
You.
Yeah.
I know.
You should have made jury.
This is some bullshit. I'm just gonna be honest. This is bullshit.
I honestly, you guys don't understand. Like, just getting on the jury and just finishing the story, the Survivor story, and being there at the end and voting for the winner, like that's part of Survivor for me. And so to miss out on that was just like heartbreaking. And it didn't sink in. Like, I honestly thought, I was like, cool, I'm going to Redemption Island or something, yeah? There's some urn to smash, isn't there? And it wasn't until I was like in the car driving back to the hotel that I was like, oh no, I'm done. I'm not on the jury. This is not happening. And I had a great, dude, I know jury feel, I know. And I had some great final tribal questions in my back pocket that would have been awesome as well. But yeah, this is where it all came apart for me, this episode. It's not great.
Yeah, so this is where we see you talking with Jaden and trying to get him to be like, mold him to what you want him to do.
Oh, so you're more Palpatine than you were Obi-Wan.
Good. Yeah, it was all that.
I didn't power.
Do it.
I am the Senate.
This just devolves into a Palpatine quote fest. Oh, my immunity necklace will be quite operational when your friends vote.
Can anyone do the little scream when he dives with the lightsaber?
Oh god, this is why I love coming on with you guys. So yeah, this was look, I misread how much Jaden blamed me for the winner vote, and that didn't sort of come up, and it wasn't, and it ended up being a vote of convenience rather than a plan of, like, you can see we all voted together for the first round of voting. It just was something that came up that was like, oh, I can do this now. But ultimately, and it's ironic because I didn't want to get Winner out the one before. I would have much rather Valeria to have gone at that point in the game. But those things sort of stick to people, and it's like, yeah, well, you voted for this person, and now this is my opportunity to vote it back. So it was fun. It was fun sort of going through the motions with Jaden and being like, yeah, this is what we're going to do. And big part of the game is figuring out people's motivations. And pre-merge, it was really easy. So after the swap with Jaden, his motivation was like to hang out with Winner. And so you clock that, and then you say to someone, hey, mate, we vote together, we'll get back together with winner, and like I guarantee you, we'll get back together with winner, and we can move forward in the game. And once you tap into the motivation, you can then rely on their vote. But then when winner's gone now, I didn't have that same read on what his new motivation was. And it goes for a few other people. But like Kitty's motivation was she just wanted to do well in challenges and stay in the game for as long as possible. And I'm like, well, you stick with me and we can do that. And it was about identifying those things in people. But then when it shifts, you got to recognize when it shifts. And so I didn't figure out what that was until it was too late. But we still had a good plan. The whole reason the dynamic shifted was because I didn't feel I had that agency with the Feras group, and I knew that Feras and Kirby were working together. So then once you've got Feras and Kirby not wanting to vote for each other, then you've got Riri voting with Kirby. And then you've got Valeria, who's friends with Kirby, Mark's with Valeria. And then suddenly we're on quite a minority position if it goes sort of in a different direction. And I just felt that we would eventually get picked off. I honestly felt that if we just stuck to our guns and voted the way that we'd voted, the Titans would have been just decimated one at a time. I could have stayed in a bit longer, but I felt I wanted to, again, guys, it comes down, I wanted to be on a good season. I wanted to be on a fun, good
and you did,
season.
Yeah, you did.
When stuff happens, like I wasn't afraid to do things and to change things up and to be like, hey, let's try this now. And Mark was definitely on board. Like Mark was obviously really on board with it because it was saving Valeria, his mate. But it was also good because Mark was very much like, oh, this is great. If it all blows up, it's going to blow up on Eden because this is sort of Eden's, what he wants to do. And for me, I thought if it blows up, it's going to hit Caroline, because if they're going to split the vote or anything, it's going to blow up and they're going to jump on Caroline, and Mark's going to flip on Caroline. Valeria's going to flip on Caroline. Everyone's going to flip on Caroline. So for me, I felt pretty safe because to put votes on me was a huge risk. And I thought people were playing optimal Survivor. I thought people were going to try and go, well, no, I'm not going to put myself in a position where I can possibly go home if I can vote for, say, Caroline, and everyone will flip on her and she'll go home. But people don't think like that in the game. People just go, oh, I'm going to do this. It was pretty, that was pretty shocking. And then when it was going to go to a tie, I was like, well, this is cool. This is legendary Survivor. First proper tie. We're going to go to Rocks. Like, this is going to be awesome. And me and Ray were getting really excited. And then we got robbed of that. That would have been, oh, guys, that could have gone down as one of the best travel councils I've ever gone.
You got robbed so many times this season.
Yeah. Did
robbed
you know?
The jury, robbed of Rocks. Yeah.
Did you know instantly that Jaden was the one that sent you home?
No, not at all. But we went through. We did go through the line, and everyone's like was upset, and then Jaden was like, "It was me, bro," and I was like, "Oh, cool," and then kept through there because Mark thought that I would think it was him. And Mark was like, it wasn't me, man. It wasn't me or Valeria. We stuck together. We didn't do it. And I was like, no, that's cool, man. Because I think maybe Mark thought that maybe I could have been on the jury, and he was trying to do a little bit of jury management out the door. But yeah, so I did know straight away. One thing I got annoyed that they cut, I did a really good speech when I got my torch snuffed, just about Survivor and what it meant to me and playing a good game. And guys, like, I'll be watching from home, so make this the best season ever because I want to be in the best season ever. So don't sit on your laurels, like do all this sort of stuff. Everyone like stood up, clapped. JLP, we had a moment together, left. They cut all that out. I was like, oh. And it just goes to show that I'm like, I needed that short soundbite. I needed that little, because there was a lot happening in that episode. So it's on the cutting room floor somewhere. My epic cinematic monologue for Survivor.
We need the Zack Snyder version of Titans vs. Rebels.
Release the Porter cut.
That's great. Well, that is a nice way to tie in, not into my final question, but my final comment for you before you leave. Last time you were here, I asked you to pick a movie to describe your season. Well, on this podcast, I always give a movie for each season. So I'm going to pitch you my case for my movie.
Oh, love it. Man.
I had to think of something that was better than Heroes versus Villains, so I went to a sequel. I had to think where something was kind of changing, and there was always two leads who didn't really trust each other. So I ended up on Terminator 2: Judgment Day.
Oh, good.
And then the T1000 is all the voting blocks is changing, There's mirrors. There's even a therapist who just disappears halfway through the movie. So
Yeah, it's all we need is the thumbs up going into the water at the end. Yeah,
Exactly.
Really good. Easy money. Really good. I love that. It's very good. Classic cinematic masterpiece. The immovable objects, unstoppable force going at each other. Love it.
So good.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you very much for having me on. I think that's my cue to get out of here.
Yeah.
Well,
It's been amazing
before
again,
you go,
Ethan, thank you.
yeah, before you go, thank you again for coming on. And
thank
if
you
you have
so
any
much.
if you have any shows to promote, because you're always doing something.
Yes, I'm emceeing a writers festival about writing for IPs like Star Wars and Doctor Who and stuff like that.
And Terminator.
Doctor Who.
And yeah, which is really good. That's down in part as the Murray River Writing Festival in Melbourne, down here, which is really fun. I've got Council Movie Report latest season is out. We've got one more big film on the horizon for that. Keep an eye out for that. It's a great season. Thank you for listening to it, Maddie. We've got one more. I've got doing a show in the Fringe Festival. Keep an eye out for it. It's a parody of love song dedications, which will be really fun. It's a one-off show coming up at the Melbourne Fringe Festival. So yeah, just look up Game Boys Comedy if you want to check that out. But guys, always a pleasure to chat to you. So much fun. I'm glad that you guys are doing the rewatch, getting ready for the new seasons that are just around the corner. So hopefully I'll get to talk more Survivor with you guys soon.
Yes, please.
Yeah,
do.
absolutely. Well, we can definitely have you back on more. So thank you so much, Eden.
Thanks, guys. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right. Well, it was great to have Eden on again, and let's break into the rest of episode 15 together, just because I'm sure there's way more to talk about with how many plans were flying around at this tribal council. You have Feras talking about reading the Titans like a book, and but just what thoughts do you guys have on episode 15?
It's a huge episode, obviously. We also have a brilliant immunity challenge with the polls, which was season 19's final immunity challenge. I think that Russell one.
Yeah.
And there's a brilliant one where you have Feras and Kirby just dancing all over the place with their poles. It's brilliant. And yeah, Kirby just, I don't know how she stayed in it as long as we can. She did, especially when Jaden was just solid as a rock the entire time. I think he could have gone all day.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so we get into the scramble afterwards, and it's just absolute chaos.
Yep.
Well, going back to the immunity, there is a moment where Kirby's pole bent so far back, and she's able to keep it. It's like I was just amazed with that. But before we do the tribal, one thing that we didn't talk about with Eden was the reward during this episode was the famous car reward. So
yeah, so Mark gets cursed.
Yep.
Exactly. And then he chooses to have a barbecue with Kitty, Val, and Caroline, and then Raymond gives us this great quote. Imagine having to go to a barbecue with Caroline and Valeria.
Yeah. Savage Ray.
Oh, Ray.
Ray had some really savage quotes throughout this. We didn't talk about it earlier, but when he just says that Eileen has nothing after this show, and it's like, wait, what?
Yeah, and he
just like, wow.
He just says it so nonchalantly that you're just like, I'm like, this is meant to be savage, clearly, but
And then some other quotes from this episode is when Mark and Caroline are talking, and Mark goes, "You may try to vote for me. I've never put your name down." May. Because it's what Mark says. And also Caroline gives us another great confessional of they say Val fights wolves in Russia, but wolves are just puppy dogs compared to me.
Yep. That's an iconic quote. Yeah.
The whole thing of this is that they're wanting to flip Caroline back against Feras after she's just kind of rebuilt that trust. And I agree with Caroline's original assessment where she's kind of dragged into this and put in an awkward position where she knows that if she does this, she's burning Feras again when they've literally just got it back together. And I don't know if this was necessarily, I think Caroline would have been more secure going forward if she remain solid with the Feras side of things, because this, we say afterwards, just blows everything up again, which leads to the amazing fluid season that we get. But it really rocked the entire camp.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then anything else from this tribal council? I'm sure there's a lot more quotes besides Ferris's that were in there.
Eden gave us the great Richard Hatch callback. I've been bamboozled.
Yeah, that one's good. And
but I just have a question for you guys. So Feras says, I read you like a book. Did he though? Because Jaden's the one who flips and nobody talked to him. So did Feras really pull off this move, or was it just more of a Jaden move?
They were originally planning on splitting. So Feras, if he didn't realize what was going on,
then Ray goes.
It would have been Raymond. Yeah, so he managed to switch the vote up and at least get it to a tie. Ferris's reaction when it was Eden going, like, no one expected Jaden to flip in that moment, but they took it from definitely Raymond going home to at least having a fighting chance.
Yeah, and it was a happy accident.
Yeah. And then, as Feras said during his interview, I don't know how I keep getting away with this, because he just makes moves and then they just work out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
In the run up to this tribal as well, we have a great moment from Feras where he senses that something's off, so he starts investigating with Caroline and Kitty, and he's saying, I know when people are lying to my face. Caroline does a pretty good job where he's not sure whether or not she's lying, and then he speaks to Kitty, and that's where the wheels start to fall off, and Feras sees that something's not right here, which leads us into the tribal and all the whispering that ensues.
Yeah, Kitty seems like a nice person, but she cannot lie worth crap, because earlier in the season, Valeria said something like, I know Kitty is lying. She has a big tattoo on her forehead saying liar.
Yeah, she shouldn't play poker.
Yeah, exactly. and speaking of lying, I have a note that Reese says that Eden doesn't cope well with telling lies. I wish we would have asked Eden that to see if he feels the same way.
Yeah, maybe next time.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll see Eden again.
Yeah.
But and then of course we Eden goes and we get the this one's for Win a Lad voting confessional. So probably one of Jaden's most iconic quotes other than his laugh. So
Well, I also have a quote from earlier when they do the feast, and he says, "I'm going to win this challenge." So I just like that.
There's also moments earlier in the season where he's literally like singing as well.
and not bad.
Yeah,
so we've all said some of our favorite Jaden quotes. Michael, do you want to give us one?
Okay. I got something. I mean, it's not necessarily positive, but he going back after the winner blind side, we have this thing of him working out in the dead of night, and he says, people are going to be in for a rude awakening when I finally start playing this game on day 30.
Yeah,
it's day 30. US season's already ended.
Yeah,
it's 4 days beyond it.
Yeah.
Like if that was episode 1, I'd be like, oh, let's watch out for this guy. But day 30 is a bit late for a
because my note after that blindside is Jaden works out in the middle of the night like a psycho. Like, now I know why Feras was so scared during 3 Ponderosa.
Yeah.
Just seeing Jaden in a shadow box. I would be terrified if I saw Jaden working out in the middle of the night in Fiji.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just to put it out there, he seems like a lovely guy. Please don't come for me. I just as a player, he's not for me.
Yeah, I get that.
That's fair.
So anything else from episode 15? Are we ready to move on? Sadly, as Eden is the last pre-jury member.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Still pissed off about that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, episode 16. This is where Eileen is going to go and become the first member of the jury. So this is where Kirby and Rianna are going to flip to weaken Feras. So, of course, any big moments from this episode? Is this
Australian Survivor loves nicknames, and I really like that Feras says that Eileen is his editor. We had AK being the accountant for his alliance, and
Yeah.
Eileen being Ferris's editor makes perfect sense, and kind of the calm to his,
Storm. Yeah.
not rage, but intensity, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's a
Yeah.
perfect setup for ultimately her downfall.
Yeah, absolutely. Is this also the episode with the auction?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
it is. But before we get to that, Feras has a great quote at the beginning of the episode. Last night was textbook survivor play from my end.
He also imitates all the Titans' faces dropping, like when they read the book. Lovely moment.
So good. And then there's a moment of Kitty being heartbroken over the Eden blindside. Same girl.
Yep.
Same.
Yeah.
I was like, it still hurts.
All of our reactions are sobbing uncontrollably.
Yes. Yeah, we get to the auction.
Yeah, so this is where Raymond's gonna find his advantage in the popcorn, which is really, really fun. And there's some other big moments, I think, or some big moments. What do you guys have on the auction aside from the popcorn?
We get Feras getting stitched up, where he goes all in and he ends up getting to brush his teeth. And
yeah, and he's like complaining about.
Very furiously.
He was so angry. Then I also have a note that Valeria gets chicken parma for $120, but gives JLP the beer. It's like, oh my god, it's just like JLP loves rubbing it in people's faces.
Oh, absolutely.
And then one thing that we sorry.
No, you go.
I was gonna say one thing that we didn't see, because I messaged Rianna to see if she got anything, because we don't see everything. But apparently she spent all of her money with Mark for a scroll, but they edited it out because apparently he wasted that advantage. So,
it's so interesting, like the things that we don't see, especially when it comes to like sometimes advantages and like things that you'd think would be super important. But yeah, if they don't play out in the story, we just don't get to see them. But it's always interesting when you hear about things like that.
Yeah. So she ended up with a rock, and I asked her, "Did you keep the rock?" And they're like, "No, they took it back." So, oh, come on, you can't even keep the rock.
There's also another JLP kind of insane moment where JLP just eats some of Kirby's pizza. She's just bought this pizza. She's been starving on an island for 30 days, and JLP, who's living in a hotel eating steak every night, just has a little bite. Like, give her a pizza, JLP.
Yeah. She's the exact opposite of Jeff in season 46. Jeff is giving out food, and then JLP is just taking food from people.
Yeah.
JLP is the opposite of Jeff in almost every way, in the most positive way possible.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And then we get the next individual immunity. This is another endurance challenge, correct? That Rihanna wins.
This is the one that I have stacking tiles on a sweet ass base, and then stack the tiles on top of each other, and Kitty wins.
Yep. Yeah, so Kitty wins the challenge, and then we get to Eileen being flipped down by Kirby and Rianna, which I think this was a smart move on their part, because they can, as Kirby says, she can keep Feras to herself now. And
remove the wedge.
Yeah, remove the wedge, yeah, exactly, and keep like get rid of a smart player and still keep a smart player that can work with you. So
Kitty has an amazing line that I resonated with, where she says, "Kirby is an amazing strategist, and I'm kind of scared of her." Same, Kitty.
Same.
She is scarily impressive.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I have a note that Kirby has a great confessional earlier. I didn't want to be observed as a big player, so I'm not seen as a threat yet. And then she gives the most evil grin ever after that. It's like, I am terrified of you.
Yeah, I did want to say, because Kirby, we've said it in the chat, my parents thought Kirby was like Sarah Lucina. That's who she reminded them of. And like, I can totally see the comparisons.
Yeah.
Both strong women, very, very strategic, and like, they just know how to play the game. So
yeah, Kirby's fantastic. She's like all-time top tier.
Mm-hmm.
That actually kind of works even better, because in Kirby and Feras, it's basically like Sarah and Tony. So it works. Yeah,
except Kirby did a lot better on her first time than Sarah did in her first season.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well,
And
I
hopefully-
can't. Oh, sorry.
I'd love Kirby to come back and do as well as Sarah did on her second time. So
Yeah,
if we can get an outcome where
And then
Kirby's a winner, that would be
I
wonderful.
can't wait for the Australian Winners at War to see a heartbreaking moment of the tie at the final four of Feras versus Kirby and Fire.
Yeah, Ferris has to
Yeah.
eliminate Kirby while tearfully like sobbing.
Honestly, this sounds amazing. Can we make this happen?
Yeah, I'd love it. It's like the perfect like scripted like story that you'd write like
Yeah.
fan fiction.
Yeah, I don't think we'd ever get it, but it would be amazing.
Mhm.
This is also really tragic for Eileen, and I think I'd have sleepless nights for the rest of my life, where she's literally 1 foot away from winning immunity.
Yeah.
In that immunity challenge, and her tower collapses.
Yeah,
And
I remember.
yeah, especially when you get blindsided that night and knowing how close you were to having the necklace around your neck. Yeah, awful.
Well, Michael, you don't really have to worry about that because you would never be that close in a immunity challenge. So
Wow.
he knows he's not an immunity
fair.
threat.
I was in the mods had to check which one of us won twice during my time.
Okay,
I
never
lost
mind.
both.
Okay. So does it keep you up at night?
I didn't go home on those votes. It's fine.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah. I'm in the same boat as you, Michael. I'm not good at challenges either. So
No, not my thing.
All right. So anything else on 16? Are we ready to hit 17?
Well, this is actually kind of like a perfect blend. Well, not yet, because we haven't talked about Raymond's ultimate vote. He has a great confessional of reading it, and then it just cuts back to him silently, just be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah.
For about like a good 10 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, just like hearing about it the first time watching, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Like, this is the craziest thing that they've ever come up with on the show. And like, who in their right mind would try this and actually be successful at it? And the question is, nobody in their right mind. It takes somebody is a little bit insane to go with this.
Yeah, this was the perfect thing for Raymond to win. It's like, again, we talk about Feras talked about how it almost seems like a scripted season just because of how perfect things are. Like the fact that Raymond gets this advantage, any other person this wouldn't have been as entertaining. The fact that it was Raymond, it ends up being one of the most exciting things I've seen in Survivor.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, Eileen is the mayor of Jury Villa this time. So
yeah. Just before we move on, I think like this episode and pretty much every episode, there is so many plans going on back at camp. There is like plans within plans within plans, and you have to pay such close attention to like keep an eye on what's going on. And it's such a testament to this cast that like usually when you watch Survivor, there's like 1 or 2 plans going on, and it's which one's gonna be the one that sticks. Every episode, especially in this post-merge, there's just so many plans going on that you don't know which way it's gonna go until you get there. And yeah, it's just how amazing this cast is that we get that every single episode.
Right.
Yeah.
Sarah Moore. It's not even the right Sarah Moore. Oh.
He's here. Our next guest.
Sarah. I was trying to type it in and I pushed the button the moment that it's like, oh no, it autocorrects. How's everyone going?
Good. How are
All
you,
right.
Raymond?
Yeah, pretty good. Can you hear me chewing my gum? Should I get it out of the thing, or is that just
You're good.
I know. Yeah. You're good.
You do you,
You're good.
Raymond.
Yeah.
Well, as you all can see,
Titans versus Rebels or something?
yeah.
I don't think we're talking about Brains versus Brawn or anything. So yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily it's the one you're on.
Yes. Yeah. We're so excited to have you on, Raymond.
Okay. What was your relationship like with Kelly?
Kelly was good. I like Kelly. The thing is, I think that with the series of Titans versus Rebels, it's sometimes you do forget that you're on a TV show, but a lot of the times you do realize you're on a TV show. And I had such an appreciation for Kelly because she's such a unique character. She's such a unique person. And quite frankly, like, I like Kelly on a personal level. I've spoken to a lot of psychologists in my time, not as like diagnosis, but I've hung out with a few over the years. So they just have a different perspective of the world. And I really appreciate Kelly's brain, but so yeah, I got along with her really well, and you see it in the show, but I also knew that she was going to be great TV. She's like one of the reasons a lot of Survivor series, I find that they have like either a strong beginning or a strong middle or a strong end. And personally, in my opinion, she is definitely the reason why early Titans versus Rebels is so entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
I have such an appreciation for her. She's like, the series would not be anywhere near as good as it was if it wasn't for Kelly being on it.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of it, I think that like a lot of people, when she said that she was a psychologist, they were like, oh, how could she be a psychologist and everything? I have never been more stressed in my life than when having to deal with Kel in certain like moments where I need a vote or stuff like that. I've never felt as much paranoia as like working with that. And that comes with knowing the brain, like being able to work in a way where like she's clever. She was able to make everyone underestimate her, and like, yeah, she just knows. She knows the brain. Quite a clever cookie.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
speaking of relationships, you also in this season gave us one of the best bromances in the history of Survivor with your relationship with Feras. Kind of talk us through how that relationship built and to the point where you walk in a final tribal council. I don't think I've ever seen someone so happy to see someone wearing that final immunity necklace.
It was I'm so glad that Feras won the series. He's a great representation for his community. He's a very funny guy, but my happiness for him winning, it's not just the fact that he wins the title of Sole Survivor and the 500 grand. It's the fact that him winning that series means it's going to be one of the best series of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Feras is one of the funniest people, and it's like, if you're not important in the show, you're not going to get as much screen time. And Feras winning the series means that he gets a lot of screen time, and he's a genuinely funny person. I downloaded TikTok the other day, right? So I could add like a few shitty videos I've been making, not of just like edited videos of other things. And one of Ferris's videos popped up on my thing. Like, I don't follow anyone on it, but one of them showed up, and he's just funny. He's just naturally funny. And I'm a big fan of Survivor. I think Gabon. It's Feras winning that makes, because he's so funny, he's just naturally charismatic. But it's one of those humors where it's more of like a, how would you put it? Like, it's not toilet humor, but it's more the stupid toilet humor side of things. And it's just, yeah, I'm just glad that he won, because it meant that it was going to be a great series.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So true.
Yeah,
Agreed.
if
Yeah.
he didn't win, like if the final was Mark or Caroline, it'd probably be a great series, but it wouldn't have been, in my interpretation, the things that I enjoy, anywhere near as enjoyable to watch, because yeah, I just like the stupid side of things, and Feras has like a stupid side to his humor, which is brilliant. That's why I get along with him. Our humor is very similar, which is strange considering we come from such different backgrounds. But there's certain languages, intellectually and stuff like that, which is universal and can go across many different whatever backgrounds and everything. And I'm just happy that he won, because it meant it was going to be a good series. I've probably like spoken too long about this. Really happy my boy won.
And it led to so many great moments, like you shouting over the ocean to each other about strategizing.
Yeah.
Sorry, was that?
Michael,
say it one more time.
Oh, sorry. It led to so many great moments in the season, like you two in the ocean shouting over to each other, saying, "Hey, do you want to strategize?" Or you whistling "the good, the bad, and the ugly."
The thing about Feras is that pretty early on, like we were pretty close from, I think, like maybe day 3 onwards. The thing about Feras and I is we both wanted to win the game, and like everyone out there wants to win, but there's also things that are more important. There's like a 1 in 24 chance that you're going to be winning the series. There is a 100% chance that you can make good TV. And like 500 grand is a lot of money. Title of Sole Survivor is very, very ego boosting and all that stuff. But quite frankly, I think I'm the sort of person where I would prefer be, I'd prefer, like, it's better to win a series that's good than to win a series that is shit.
Agree.
And Feras and Feras wanted to make great TV. I wanted to make great TV, and we were going to do anything to make great TV. And the fact that he won means that the series wound up being, in my opinion, and I am biased, but it wound up, in my opinion, being great TV. Especially, like, I've never seen Blood versus Water, the Australian series, but I think that it gets like a lot of flack, and there's reason why I think Titans versus Rebels is more appreciated than that series, and there's probably many factors in it. But Feras wanting to make good TV and then winning the game is a very, I think, an important factor to it being great TV. Genuinely funny bloke, great TikTok. You should follow him. I was laughing at it, like just looking at like the other day while scrolling. Funny guy.
Yeah, I think we really enjoyed talking to him on his interview that we did with him too. Like he was making us laugh a lot.
He's good at that. But yeah, do you have any other questions? Well, I think that you guys are covering the Jaden and the Valeria vote, which is probably the only reason why I'm getting called on. It's like my fame that period. So do you have any questions regarding that stuff and everything?
Well, sure. Since you brought it up, what made you? What made you?
Today?
What made you decide to vote for Jaden after Mark whispered in your ear at Tribal?
So the thing is, seating placement is a very interesting thing in Survivor. There's many aspects of Survivor which should be analyzed and things in itself. And like I walked into that Tribal not really thinking I would be flipping or anything. I was like questioning certain things, but when Mark whispered in my ear, I didn't really want to work with Mark at all because I don't know why. I didn't really want to work with Mark, but I wanted to work with Alex. I thought that there was a chance that, well, in Survivor, getting to the finals is very important. And Alex is someone that has the potential to win the final challenge. And then, like, Alex and my relationship was a sort of thing where if he did win the final challenge and I'm still there, he would take me to the end. That's an important thing. So I really want to work with Alex. And Mark whispered in my ear. There was, a few sort of if and buts during the day, but he whispered a bit in my ear. And I said, I'll do that because Jaden's someone I'm not fitter than. Valeria is someone that I'm not fitter than. I'm going to lose most challenges, I think, against both of those two. So either one, sort of not much of an issue. I'm pretty sure everyone wanted Valeria out more than Jaden, so Valeria would still have a massive target on her back. So when Mark suggested it, I was down for it, but I said, okay, I want this to happen, but I don't want Alex using his idol because Alex is a massive threat in the game. He's someone that has the potential to go very, very far just on challenges alone. And like he's a target there. Nobody, like I was going to make it pretty far in the game for the moment that Eden went home because nobody really saw me as a threat. And I mean, you do certain things to do that, but yeah, there's always the potential that if I was in like the last challenge with Alex wins because he's fit. He's going to take me due to the conversations that we had out there and what we were going to probably do with the money. I knew that, well, he knows I played up my circumstances. I knew that Alex was interested in using a lot of the money that if he won it to go to charity. And I said, that's very admirable. And we had a lot of chats about that stuff. And from that perspective, we would both be really content with either one of us winning the game. So I had that in the back of my mind. So I did really want to work with Alex. So I said to Mark, I was like, okay, I'll do that, but I do not want Alex using his idol. And yeah, Valeria needs to go very soon. If you want to work with me, then I need these things to happen. And neither one of those things happened. Mark used his idol instantly. Sorry, Mark made Alex use his idol instantly. So I'm like, well, basically, F you. I'm not that interested in working with you. Mark's someone where you would give Mark information on the beach and he wouldn't really reciprocate. It never felt like Mark was giving you anything back.
Mhm.
And I'd constantly tell you that he wanted to work with you, but most people never felt it, especially due to his actions, especially when, for example, that night when I gave him something, I put my alliance that I'd built up in jeopardy to say, hey, okay, I'll do this. Just instantly threw it away. I never felt like Mark was like, he might have been interested in working with me, but it was for his own personal gain, and he'd never give anything. Yeah, never give anything back. So I felt betrayed that night when that idol was used. It was basically it was very much okay, I can never work with Mark. There's no point in even trying to work with Mark. He's only in for it for himself. There's no, and everyone who's playing games should be into it for themselves, but just instant betrayal. It was a dumb move, and Mark was never going to be in any danger as it was. He was always going to be making it very far in that game because nobody saw him as a physical threat. Every single challenge that he did, he always pushed himself very hard, but he never got that far up pushing himself. So you knew that he'd be someone that you could beat at the end. And like, there's a chance that most people can beat him over a Kitty, a Valeria, a Riri, and Alex. So he was always going to make it very far. Why throw away this olive branch that early on in the game? So I thought that was a pretty dumb move, but I gave him a chance. He instantly threw it away. And then later that night, when we were back at camp, he came up to me with Valeria and said, and he used this classic line, Raymond, I want to work with you. And as me, after saying Valeria needs to go next, she's too good at these challenges. Basically to do that, it just was like, it's just the extra double punch in my throat. So that really kicked off the me being interested in sort of doing what I did. Because I was always open to many ideas. There's many routes to getting to the final. There's many things that you can take, but from that position on, it was, I just felt betrayed. I felt like I could never work with Mark after that. And I spoke to Mark after, and he's like, yeah, but it was best for my game. And I mean, yeah, but doing things that are best for your game at a point that's at a point that is that early on, I don't know.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, then speaking to the Valeria round right after, you ended up finding the ultimate reward or ultimate advantage that you and Feras are able to put into play to get Valeria out. So walk us through that because that was just one of the best moments of the entire season.
Well, I originally got that stupid advantage. Found in that silly popcorn. There's many things that even go. There's so many layers to everything. There's like, I love popcorn. There's that side to it, which then somehow made me lucky enough to find that silly thing. But that advantage, it's the average person, if they were smart, would just throw that stupid thing in the fire. That's such a dangerous advantage. And I think that if anyone else from my season had that, it wouldn't even make the show. It wouldn't be edited. It'd be so pointless because there's many advantages that you don't see getting used or anything because they're irrelevant to the story. Like at that reward, Mark bought a covered item which wound up being something for a challenge that just had no effect, so it didn't even make the show. But yeah, I got that thing, and I held on to it, trying to work out what to do with it. My original plan was let it expire, and then have someone find it later on in like the final aspects of the game. So like, it would be a lot more easier to get every single vote on you at the final 5, the final 6, the final 4 than I think that I could only use it when there was 10, 9, or 8 people left in the game, which is a really, really risky thing to attempt. But I could see a lot more people wanting to attempt it at like a final 4, a final 5, a final 6, especially if you are a massive target like Alex, Riri, So my original plan was to let it expire, let someone like Alex find it, try and get every vote on him, try and play it, and then they say it's expired. But production said I couldn't do that. So I held on to it. I was thinking what to do with it because there's really, I thought it was it's a stupid advantage. It's something that's really difficult to pull off, but I knew that I didn't think that it was going to work when I did it. And I'm still somewhat surprised that it did, but I knew that it would be good TV. I was out there to be on the best season of Survivor. I knew that there's a good chance I wasn't going to win the game, but there's always a good chance that you can make a season so much more exciting. And so I was always interested. So I just attempted it. I didn't think it was going to work, but I was always going to put 100% into it. I thought that maybe if it didn't work, the episode would be based around just, add stupid effects to everyone's worked out what I'm doing. There'd be dumb sound effects of me whenever it pans over to me, and then the real story's going on. And either way, it's a bit more attention on me. It's just a little, I thought it'd be the cherry on top of what would wind up being a great episode anyway, where I don't get a single vote on me or something stupid. It actually worked. And I can't really, I don't know if it was really shown in the edit but I was there. I didn't eat for 3 days. I was constantly somewhat passing out while just lying there in the dirt because I was I had so little energy. I couldn't do anything. And yeah, it was actually quite nice. It wasn't stressful. At least it was sort of I'm probably going to die, but I'm going to die on my high horse and not have to worry about any of these people. It was just so many things pointed to it being funny. I thought it would be stupid TV. I genuinely thought I was going to be the Eric Reichenbach of Australian Survivor, and I'm like that. And it's something that interests me because that moment goes down in history. And even though it's considered a stupid move, it's so iconic, and it's just something that elevates an already great season. I thought there'd be something like that, but it actually worked. And yeah, full kudos to Feras for actually managing to do a lot of the stuff as well. There's a few things that you don't see, like Caroline and Kissy knew about it, Riri knew about it. So many people knew about it, except for, I think, Alex, Mark, and Val, which, again, another thing, I always thought the more people that knew about it, the less chance there'd be of pulling it off. But yeah, there's just a lot behind it. There was a lot of effort put into it. I think a lot of the people that did know about it want to actually see it get pulled off, and it wasn't going to be them in any danger if it did get pulled off anyway. So there was the incentive. Again, everything just pointed to it being a funny thing. And I didn't think Valeria was going to be winning the game anyway. I think that to play a good game of Survivor, you need to go in with this idea of why is everyone there? What are they looking to get out of it? How, what are their morals? Just why are they out there? And I also I knew that Kitty isn't someone that's really interested in winning the 500 grand. She might be interested in winning because it will promote her business, but she's also not going to do anything that jeopardizes her image because she's already successful. 500 grand doesn't really mean much to her. So if you look at the game and the people from that perspective, I was always under the impression, maybe wrongly, that Valeria was out there so she could get more follows on Instagram, and she's an absolute star. I saw her last week, and I tried to explain that to her, and she said, "No, I was really interested in the psychology aspect of it." And I felt a little bit, because I mean, you're out there, everyone. I never saw it from that perspective. I always saw it as, okay, if I do this, then Valeria can look stunning on in jury, and she can have amazing outfits as what she would while sitting on the jury, and it'd be sort of win-win situation because Survivor's tough. You're there, you're being shown at your absolute worst to millions of, I think millions of people across Australia. I thought that Valeria was there mainly from that perspective, and with hindsight, I might have been wrong, but yeah, I think to play a good game of Survivor, you need to realize or work out why everyone's there, what they're looking to get out of the experience, and then you play it from there. So there's people that are just in it for themselves. Be careful of those people. There's people out there for attention. They're going to do they're going to be more sporadic. There's people that are out there to be a representation of certain things. They're going to be going at excess against maybe racial stereotypes and stuff like that. So if you can just keep all that stuff into consideration, take all that stuff into consideration, I think that no matter what, you're going to be playing a pretty good game. But I thought that about Valeria. I thought that if I was able to get rid of her, that she would feel less ripped off, because arguably it is a pretty somewhat sneaky move. I never thought it would work, but the fact that it did work automatically labels it as sneaky and not stupid. So I thought that Valeria was out there for that purpose, and I genuinely thought maybe I was doing her a favor somewhat. Again, it's a selfish way of thinking, but the reason I chose Valeria was because I felt pissed off with Mark. I thought that, like, if I took away someone's dream from someone that I thought was out there because they're a massive fan of the show, then it might be like they would never forgive me. If I was sitting in the final two, they would be lambasting my ass on Jury Villa. So sorry, on Jury, if I ever made it to final two. But every decision, like nearly every single thing that I chose to do out there was somewhat calculated, from lying in the hammock while there's so much scrambling and all that stuff, because some certain people that are out there need an anchor that's like just something that is going to do what it says, not talking behind people's backs. Just everything out there is game. Every single decision just creates like a little microcosm of other things that can happen. It's like no game you'll ever play, and I'm really lucky I got to play it. I learned a lot about myself, and yeah,
it's amazing. I'm glad like to hear that about how good your experience was. Like it's awesome to hear. So if people want to follow you on social media, where can they follow you, Raymond?
Anything that's important. You know what you guys should do? You guys should follow like Garrick. I'm interested. I know that you had Eden on before, and there's always a good chance that Eden's going to come back and play. But I'm going to rep my boy Garrick. Garrick needs to play Survivor again. Like
I agree. Yeah,
I agree.
Have you guys had Garrick on? I think he's always interested in probably talking Survivor. I want him to get more attention, because I think that Garrick could play an amazing second game. I think that he could. Oh, that's another thing. That's another thing that I did the Valeria move, not thinking that it would work, thinking that I'd probably get burned out. And if that happened, then I might be brought back much like Eric Reichenbach and have no target on my back, because he did well the second time as well. But yeah, follow Garrick instead of me on social media. I don't post any.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right.
yeah. If Garrick listens to this, he's always welcome.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my cat isn't working.
No problem.
You're
Thank you
good.
for
All
doing.
good.
Thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing this, Raymond.
Thanks so much,
Enjoy
Raymond. All right. That was Raymond. We're so glad to have the opportunity to speak to so many of these amazing players and characters through the show. So
yeah.
All right. Episode 17. This is the Jaden boot episode. This is where Raymond flips and gets Jaden out after Mark whispers sweet nothings in his ear. So yeah, I mean, this is a really interesting episode, and definitely not something I expected was that Raymond was going to flip on Feras, but yeah, really exciting stuff. What are your guys' thoughts? Anything from this episode?
We get Feras reconciling with Kirby after the Eileen vote, and that's what I love about Ferris's game. And he talks about how he wants to get revenge on these people that take out Garrick, that take out Eileen, but he's not super pushy with it, and it needs to happen right now, like we saw with Mark, where he gets blindsided with Viola and he just goes guns blazing, and it's chaos back at camp because he's desperate to try and get revenge on Caroline. Ferris is way more subtle about his revenge, where he'll bring people back in, and he really builds that connection back up with Kirby and is fine with the Eileen vote until the time is right for him to get his revenge. I just love the way Ferris plays that.
Yeah, and then Feras also forms a new alliance with Kirby, Ree, and Jaden to have like the new power structure. And then also Kitty offers to work with Kirby, and then Kirby gives another great confessional. Kitty trusts me, and I actually trust her because she can't lie.
Yeah. Yep. Is this in a couple episodes, or is this an episode where Kitty attempts to like flip on Caroline?
I
I
think
think
that's just,
that's a little bit later.
That's a little bit
Oh,
okay.
I
That
think.
makes sense. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But I thought for some reason I thought Kitty. No, because I think it's
yeah, because of this one. Because it's
Oh, is it?
Ferris, Kirby,
Yeah.
Ree, Jaden, and Kitty who vote for. I don't know.
who vote
Okay.
for
Alex.
Alex. Yeah,
Alex.
yeah.
Because then there was a split vote on Valeria.
Yeah, because then Alex plays his idol for Valeria this round. Yeah, which is crazy. Alex, like, I don't know if he just didn't, or if he knew like his name was out there. I'm sure he had to know maybe a little bit, but just like to take that big risk and like, luckily for Alex, he doesn't go home after like misplaying his idol here. But
Yeah.
it's for all intents and purposes, Alex should have been the boot had Raymond not flipped. So
Yeah.
We also get frustrated Ferris where Alex is frustrated, angry with Ferris because he was left out of one conversation, and Ferris is saying, "What is this school? Like, I can't handle stupid. I can't deal with stupidity." Is his exact quote.
I'm surprised because Alex has been used to being left out of every single vote so far except the Kelly vote.
Yeah.
In this episode, we also get the Lord Jaden versus Caroline about the coconut and all that. Then also, we have to talk about this immunity challenge. This is the most brutal one. This is when Ree and Alex are hanging upside down in the water for over, and then they do it over 30 minutes with one hand. Then Alex pulls himself back up with one hand,
Yes.
which is impressive. And this goes like for like over an hour. Like Ree said, like she basically almost broke her ankles doing this. Like this is the most brutal challenge. And then Ree wins because she's a challenge beast.
My
as she often does. Yeah.
Then there's also a great moment of Kitty being underwater for like a good 20 seconds.
Yeah.
It's like God, this challenge was so good.
Yeah, this would be brutal. Like, I mean, if we were ranking brutality of challenges, like even though this isn't the final one, this would be up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Rianna wins this as she does, and yeah, so we get to the tribal, and Raymond is gonna make this flip. So, what are your guys' thoughts on like that, and like whether Raymond made the right move in taking Jaden out here?
So just before we get to the Raymond both side of things, this is also a fantastic tribal council where you get Alex with the amazing quote of I think your ass gets jealous the amount of shit your mouth talks to Ferris. And it's just a really confrontational tribal council, and you get Kirby versus Alex with the flexible versus Florida argument. And Kirby's completely right. Like, Kirby is flexible and Alex is a Florida. I don't really understand how he he doesn't understand what Kirby's point is here, because he hasn't landed anywhere, and he's been kind of doing what he has to do to try and keep alive, but he's not been attached to any strong alliance that's like maintained him. And yeah, Kirby and Ferris are both flexible with what they do. They make decisions that are going to progress them if it means working with certain people one week, certain people the next week. But it doesn't mean that they're just floating through. It means they're observing the game and making the best decisions they can.
Yeah, absolutely.
And speaking of Alex, this is also the tribal that we talked to Ferris about, where they tried to get the votes on Alex during the tribal, but Ree just didn't hear Kirby say that. So she's the one who votes for Valeria. So
yeah, which is like, it would have been a tie if she did vote for Alex, and then Raymond would have been forced to flip back. So
and then if this wasn't a live tribal and all the votes did go on Valeria, Alex would have played the idol correctly, and then Raymond got saved a couple times.
We've talked about it a few times that these tribals are so active where the votes change like at tribal council, and it shakes things up, and we'll see it again with the Caroline idol play later on. But it's just more live tribals than any season I've seen. It seems like every episode there's whispering going on and changing up of plans last minute. It's just it's so exciting to watch.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, Jaden goes. I mean, I think for Raymond, like I completely understand. I think taking out Jaden so that you're like solidified and go when you go back to your alliance, you're solidified that like with Kirby and Feras and like you're like they're gonna like solidify Raymond as part of them more. He's gonna have a tighter spot with them without Jaden there as like an extra number that could replace him, you know. So
I think this is was kind of risky on Raymond's part, where he's really trusting that he's getting the right information. So he gives them the information they need of where to play the idol. Obviously, it ends up changing, but say they're right. He's being told that they're voting for Jaden. Like, what happens if they have the information, they play the idol correctly, and they haven't voted for Jaden, but they voted for Feras, or they voted for Kirby? Like, he's given the game away that could have very easily affected one of his closest allies.
Yeah, that's true.
So I just think it was very reckless, which, you know, Raymond is a chaotic player, which is fair. But yeah, this could have went so much worse for them. And I think Feras and Kirby are very forgiving. I think I'd have been a lot more annoyed about that.
Yeah, but then going into episode 18, Raymond goes into his mess by using, oh, I messed up, and then that helps him sell his lie. So it's just like he knows how to adapt, and he did it pretty well in episode 18.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else to say for Jaden, as he is the second member of the jury here?
Nope.
I enjoyed him. I would just love to see him like on the challenge, like actually like on the challenge. I think he would crush it.
He would do that.
Yeah, a more physical type of game. I definitely agree.
So I'm just imagining Jaden versus CT in a hall brawl, and Jaden would just go like right through him.
I don't think he'd fit in it.
Actually, yeah, because he is pretty big. Wow, good point.
He's huge.
Yeah,
he's like the mountain.
He's the Incredible Hulk. All right. So episode 18, this is the ultimate advantage episode where Valeria is gonna go because Raymond and Feras get everything to go their way here. And yeah, this is pretty incredible. I would probably put this as one of the best episodes of Survivor ever as well, just because of how everything plays out. But any other moments for this episode? I mean, a lot of it is like Raymond's masterclass acting and Ferris's like Raymond just like not eating anything or like, you know, lying face down in the dirt. It's really funny, but like that's crazy. So crazy.
Yes, it's a fantastic episode. This is also the one where we have the challenge where they have to fire the coconuts and take out each other's names.
Yeah.
And did you notice what Feras said in passing during that challenge?
I don't remember.
After he gets his name taken out, he's frustrated and he says, "Say, Wallace, someone took my name out." And not something I picked up on remotely. I didn't know about until we spoke to Feras and he explained the meaning of that. So I thought that was at least one reference to that got in it, if not for the winner vote.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, because I didn't pick up on that in the episode either. So that's cool.
Same. And then speaking of that challenge, this is the reward of the spa, and this is the part where Michael and I both cringe at Alex viciously shaving near his nipple. It's just like, how did he not like cut that thing off?
Yeah. As Drax would say, my nipples.
My nipples hurt. No, this is
crazy.
Yeah, this is like Alex also just like sitting in his bathrobe with the wine glass and just like sitting there. Like, I don't know. It's just a funny image. I like it better than Emily flipping in 45 even. Like, I know everybody says how iconic that shot is with her giant wine glass, but I don't know. I think this one is funnier. I don't know.
Yeah. But as we said in the chat, Mike White's wine glass is a top tier one.
Yeah, drunk Mike White. Yes.
Bitch.
Yeah, and you also have Alex like screaming like Rihanna's name in the challenge and stuff, and just I don't know, it reminds me of Maddie Whitmore and Gabon acting like the Joker.
Yeah.
So
And speaking of the spa, there's a moment where Alex is like going to bed, and then all the women are in the hot tub, and they're like, "So we're voting out Alex, right?" And then Ree goes, "Thanks for the spa."
Yeah, I've actually got the Alex stuff in episode 19.
I thought that
I
was
don't
what
know.
it was
My
too.
notes might be wrong, but we can cover it now while we're
Oh
on
yeah,
it. But
you're right. I'm sorry.
No, you're
I will
good.
be because Alex won another reward. This is
yeah,
the biscuits. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good. I mean, we're about at that episode
yeah,
anyway, so
Yeah.
we can cover it now. But this Alex during this spa just it seems like such an odd choice where he even has a conversation with Mark where he dumps his water in Mark's thing and then runs back to have a chat
yeah,
to Mark. And Mark tells him, bring the boys, bring Feras. He's trying to get this guys alliance going, and then he ends up taking people that have absolutely no interest in working with him. And then he's just like, so do you want to chat? And they're like, no. It's just so awkward. It's like this was a real opportunity. If that was what you were wanting to do, to like bring in Feras, bring in Mark, like take them out there and solidify that. I don't know
Yeah.
why he chose these people that clearly have like disdain for him.
Yeah, it's because Alex isn't a good player, I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, and then going back to the actual reward of episode 18, sorry. He takes Val, Feras, and Kitty,
Mhm.
and then Feras is not buying anything Alex is selling. And Kirby even says Alex is going to need a lot more than sugar to
Yes.
sweeten up Feras.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like poor Alex.
yeah,
He tries.
yeah. At least he tries. I'll give him that. All right, and then the immunity challenge. Which one is this again?
It's a 3-tier maze with which
yeah.
Kirby wins.
Yes, Kirby. Yep. Yeah, this is a cool
challenge.
looking
Like
challenge.
it. Yeah.
So, yeah. So then we know that Feras and Ray are giving this Oscar-winning performance. Kirby's clued in. Seems more people might be clued in as well, and except for like Mark and Valeria and Alex, and so
Alex is left out again.
oh my God.
That's brand new information. Poor Alex. Like he seems like a super nice guy, but
Yeah.
he just when you're going up against Feras and Kirby, it's like everybody's going to look like a fucking idiot. So
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
There's a top tier cast. But yeah, Raymond and Feras, amazing performances to sell this. And we have like you said, Raymond just lying face down in the dirt, and Feras just going up to him and laughing with him, and being like, I'm gonna go back up and watch what I'm gonna say. And it's like,
Yeah,
they're just having so much fun with it.
yeah. It's so funny. So yeah, we get to tribal and everybody's like, we're gonna give Ray like the send-off he deserves, and Ray's still looking down at tribal council and like resting his head on Feras, and just like it's so funny.
Say something nice about him on the way
Yeah,
up.
and everybody's saying it like out loud so everybody can hear.
so
Which Feras talked about that. It's such a good little detail of like it would be very like crazy for someone to out loud say something nice about Feras, about Raymond, while holding up a piece of paper that doesn't have Raymond's name on it. So it's just like a little thing that just cements in people that that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And then Feras voting professional, you see him walk up with his head down.
Yeah.
And then he slowly raises his head with his
smiles.
his cheeky smirk.
It's so
the
good.
funniest part about that is that on his way up, Caroline says, "Oh, poor Feras," and then he like smiles this evil grin. It's so funny.
It's so good.
But before the votes, we have to talk about Kirby hands the immunity necklace to Ree, and then JLP calls it out. Like I don't know if JLP should have called it out, because it's like drawing attention to what was going on, and it almost ruined Raymond's great moment.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. It's such a public move to do at that point. It's at tribal council. It's in front of everybody. So I get at that point. I mean, what Jeff and JLP in past seasons, like they'll call out people's facial reactions and things. So I feel like it's fair game to take a look at it when like people are doing it so publicly.
I would be so pissed if I was Kirby and Henry. They did it so slow over like probably 20 minutes, and then she has the idol, and then JLP's just like, oh, so Ree, you now have the idol.
Yeah.
Like, God damn it.
Yeah.
I think that's more on them though. This was like super unnecessary and super risky, especially like I don't know, Ray wasn't going to write down either of their names. It really did almost blow things up. And you have that great moment where Feras is like, if anyone takes advantage of this, I am going to be furious.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, the play works and Raymond's like, you guys are going to hate me.
It was so good.
Yeah, and so Valeria is going to go with one vote, and she takes it pretty well. So it's really
very well. Yeah.
She not only does she take it well, but she has a great line of it feels good to be voted out by the minority. It's like, man, she's just coming up with it, and then she has the best like hair turn ever. It's like 33 days or whatever on the island, and she just is fucking nailing it.
Yeah. No, I do like
one thing about. Sorry.
No, you can go.
One thing about all this was, not to big myself up, this would never have worked on me because everyone knows I love a throne vote. If everyone's voting for one person, there's no way in hell that I'm writing that name down. I'd be writing down someone else's name and Raymond goes home.
Oh. Yeah. No, I mean, it definitely at that point, if I was Valeria or Mark, I'm definitely, tossing my vote as well.
Valeria has that read. She tries to make something happen at the well with Mark, and she's talked down, so she could have saved herself in that moment, but sadly for her, no.
Yeah, I did like Valeria. I mean, I know she had some moments of like you could consider talking down to people. Like she talked down to Feras a little bit, and
and Caroline and
but I mean, she was great. I think she was a good player. I think like had a couple of circumstances gone her way, yes, she could have saved herself here, but also she lost Viola way sooner than she wanted to, and the Charles tribal happened. So like, I think circumstances broke her way differently, like than she could have gone farther. I think too.
Yeah. She was a very badass player. She didn't hold back on what she thought. That we can't remember if we talked about it, but the comment about her saying that Feras shot down Eileen like a dog is all just straight to the point. No BS with Valeria, and she was fantastic. I'm sure she'll be back one day.
Yeah, she's someone I can see back. Yeah.
I think she'll be like a Sarah from season 2, where we all want her back, but due to her job, she just may not be able to physically do it. Again, because she's a super model. Speaking of here's some more praise from Valeria that we didn't really get to talk about during the merge episode. So she wins the set for life in the bed, and then she does like a great thing of like she's a priest and everybody's coming to her to do confessionals like this, and then Winter asks her, should I vote out Caroline and Giddy? As a father, I suggest it. It's good for karma.
Yeah. All right. So we already touched.
Well, I got a little bit more. Sorry. JLP says Raymond has spoken during this tribal, which is really good. And then another thing about Val, her exit, she has a great line. This is basically would be me if I was on Survivor. Looking forward to a couple vodka shots, then a shower, then dessert.
Yeah. All right, we talked a little bit about episode 19 already, all the Alex stuff, and this is the send-off for Alex finally. And anything else before we get to the tribal where Alex is fighting with Kirby and Feras?
There is a certain immunity challenge. I don't remember which one. Michael, isn't somebody famous for this immunity challenge?
Oh, we have the Dirty Harry challenge that he's went out on in 2 seasons come back. So I've managed to mention Dirty Harry on every single Survivor Australia podcast that we've done, and for the final time we can do it. And who knows, we're doing UK and South Africa. Maybe I can find ways to shoehorn Harry into the content.
I'm
Oh,
sure you can.
Yeah, I'm sure you can. I have faith in that. Speaking of this challenge, this is one of the best recoveries I've ever seen. Alex almost like touching the water back. He's able to
Yes.
pull himself up. It's like, I don't know how he did that.
Yeah, that's insane. That takes so much like core strength and arm strength and yeah.
Something us three don't have.
No.
Also in that challenge, Mark's kind of eyes are rolling back, and his facial expressions made me kind of think maybe he has a pain kink. He seemed kind of into it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, because in the finale, JLP says that Mark does really well with pain, so maybe he does.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. All right, we get to the tribal council. This is where Alex is fighting with both Feras and Kirby, basically calling out Kirby for that she's going to win the game, and that Feras is just kind of following Kirby along. And you know, I think it kind of sucks, like when you're playing such a good game that like someone is gonna basically call you out and like make sure your target is huge, so that you're probably gonna get targeted right at the very end. So. I don't know. I feel bad that Kirby's game kind of very much took a hit here because Alex was upset that he was gonna get voted out here. But
Yeah, I still think Kirby would have obviously been a big target, but this doesn't help. And it's also I just really didn't like this from Alex because all of his comments are really like just not true or completely misread. Where he's talking about, no one here has done anything, and it's like every single episode we've had has been a big blindside with such fluid gameplay. Just because you haven't been involved in these things, like everyone here is playing a fantastic game. We talked about it in part one of like anyone in this cast, once we hit merge, with maybe a couple of exceptions, would have been a satisfying winner of any season of Survivor. But they all played fantastic games, and when we get down to this final 6-7 or whatever, I could see any of them winning and being like, you know what, that's a decent winner, and it's because they all played hard. And Alex saying that people aren't doing anything, it's just not true, and
yeah,
it just kind of sucks. And it sucks most of all for Kirby, who gets her game blown up completely by him, and that just sucks. Don't like it.
Yeah, I'm kind of two minds here. One, I don't blame Alex because he knows he's going home, so he's trying to do whatever he can to save himself. I mean, I've done that in Vanquish, and I was able to pull it off. Alex, sorry. But then I also just don't like when people like also just like completely blow everything up. But at least he did it before he was actually voted out, because I hate when somebody is voted out and then that's when they blow up.
Yeah.
Like Dave has an idol.
Yeah, the Andy move.
Oh, you're able to mention Andy in another part. Oh my God.
Andy and Harry.
But also, like, I think Feras touches on this, where Alex comes in and there's two plans that Alex has been a part of with Kirby and with Feras. And he calls them both out, and it's like, how do you know we weren't with you? Like, how do you know we weren't considering this? It's like, you've come out and you've given all the game away, and you've been so open to tribal council. It guarantees you're going home. Like, maybe if you can sell it in a way to, I'm guessing it'd be more on the side of the lads going for Kirby. Like, sell that he's on that with Feras, and have quiet conversations with them, not just talk openly. He learned from Peter.
Yeah. All right. Well, goodbye to Alex, the poor man's Simon.
Last member of the Cuddle Crew, though.
Yeah, or maybe I think we actually had the Eddie Fox of this season.
Yeah. He is the Eddie Fox of the season. I mean, if Alex wants to open a bar that has dogs, do it. Speaking of that, Eddie was way ahead of his time, because every bar I go to in Los Angeles, dogs are allowed. So
yeah, dogs are allowed in England. Is that not like a normal?
It probably wasn't when Eddie was trying to do it.
Yeah, like 11, 12 years ago.
I do also, one last thing on this. Mark's voting confessional was, I'm still going to vote for you, Kirby, but I'm fairly sure that Alex has cooked this one.
Yeah. Yep. Well, Goodbye, Alex.
All right. Well, it is my honor to introduce our next guest. She is coming off a 12-hour shift as a paramedic, where, according to her, she could have delivered a baby, pulled a knife out somebody's back, or pulled something out of somebody's bum. She has a smile that would power the sun. She is the challenge beast of Australian Survivor. My friend, the badass boss bitch herself, Rianna.
Welcome.
Hey guys, how you going?
Good, how are you?
Welcome.
Thank you for coming on.
Very good. I've had about 2-hour nap, so I'm ready to start the day here.
That's all you need.
Well, let's get into it. So Rianna, why do you think you were chosen as a rebel despite being a Titan in your field?
So it's so weird because I still think when they told me I was a rebel, I was like in disbelief. I was like, me, a rebel? But I guess they went down that pathway of that like adrenaline, risk-taking kind of person, because like I do love that like skydiving, and I like have been swimming with whale sharks, and there's really not like, if you put me up to a challenge, I pretty much won't say no. And you probably saw that from the show, like I don't really give up very easily. So there's that side. And then also my work, like as a paramedic, I think they were just like, I told them like a lot of my stories, and then they just saw that as like, whoa, like your job's so like adrenaline filled, you never know what you're going to go to, and like you never know what you're faced with. And I think they saw that as like a combination to see me as this risk taker, I guess they put it as, like, I think in their rebel words there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we see you form this amazing bond with Kirby right from the beginning, and it's going to be a bond that takes you all the way through the game together. Kind of, how did that relationship start, and how was it playing with Kirby?
Yeah, I absolutely love Kirby, and it's so weird how we actually made this bond, because in the game it's very hard because you never know who's telling you the truth or anything. But I remember it was literally day one, and we were literally passing each other out in like the forest, and we remember like looking at each other, and we kind of like had the same feel. I don't know, it was really innate. And then I remember talking to her at night. They didn't show this on the show, but I was just like, "Are you from the country?" And then she's like, "Yes." And then we were both just like, "Yeah, we're country girls." And then we knew we were like down to earth. And from that day, we were both just like, "Do you want to go to the end with each other?" And we both said yes. And I think, I don't know, but I just trusted her so much. And I think she had the same with me. And I can't explain it, but I was like so fortunate to have her in this game. It would have been so different if I didn't, I reckon.
Well, speaking of different, a swap happens. So what were your thoughts during the swap when you were left with only Sarah and Alex?
Yeah, when the swap happened, I was like, oh no, this is not great, because obviously we were outnumbered by like the OG Titans. So I was like, all I could see in my head was like, we only have a certain amount of time where they're just going to start picking us off like one by one. So each day on that beach on the New Rebels tribe was actually, had so much anxiety. You would wake up being like, who do I need to talk to today to like make sure I don't get voted out? And then like I was trying to make like friendships like no tomorrow, but everyone over there was so tight. They didn't care. They was like, nah, we're all Titans, we're sticking together. So I was like trying to find a wedge between them, or some sort of crack that I could infiltrate. But I was kind of lucky enough to survive that tribe, because I came down to being like the last one at the very end of just being the OG rebel. So thankful to make it to merge.
You were the challenge beast of the season. Kind of, how did you get in the mindset in those big endurance challenges to just knock it out of the park every time?
It's so funny because obviously like you go out to Survivor, you don't know what kind of challenges you're going to each time. And I went into the show, I wouldn't say like I was like super fit, but I obviously did like a lot of like general fitness, but no like, you know, these CrossFitters are crazy. And when I did the first few challenges of the endurance particularly, I was like, oh, all these people here are actually struggling a lot. And I actually found it not so bad. I don't know where I go when it like those things happen. I kind of, it sounds weird, but I kind of like sit in the pain. Like you kind of know it's there, but you just, I don't know, I kind of like zone out from it, and then kind of just try to like go to another place a little bit. But I just remember like some days it was like really cold, and I just remember being like, it is so cold, like I can't wait to like get home and like have a hot shower when I'm like back in Australia. I was like thinking about all these like fun things in my head. I'm like, it'll be better when I'm home. It's fine. Just push through a couple more minutes, you'll be right. And then and then I end up winning some, and it was so good. And I'm very stubborn and very competitive. So like if there's any challenge, I will like that will push me through a lot as well. Cause I'm just like, I'm not losing against Alex. I was like, he asked me so many times, he's like, Ree, just let me win this one. Like, come on, please. Like, I don't even know if they showed it. I was like, no, Alex, I'm not letting you win. I was like, no way.
Well, you were the challenge beast of this season. I've talked to you about this, but now I'm asking it on a public forum. You versus Haley in an endurance challenge. Who wins?
I actually love Haley, and I think she's great, but I reckon I'd give her a run for her money. I don't know. I just feel like I've got the like mindset and determination of like just pushing past, and she did a great job. Don't get me wrong, but I reckon I can take it.
That's
Jake,
something we need to see.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So yeah, it would be great if she comes back. I don't know, blood versus water. Do you need a partner?
Yeah, I do need a partner. Are you free?
Oh yeah, totally.
Matt, you should go.
I should go. Oh, thank you.
Matt, Matt, you'll be my like all my brains and strategy, and then I can come and like help with the challenges and everything.
Sounds like a perfect combo. Just saying. Jake, you can take the question that we don't have somebody claim for.
Yeah. So what were your thoughts about skipping the feast to go look for the idol on the Rebels Beach with Eden and Mark?
Yeah, I had to go. Like I was like on that chopping block. Like I was pretty much the last rebel there. So I'm like, if I didn't have that idol, like I had no security blanket. And I like food is food. I know like everyone, like most people up there, they were like absolutely dying of like starvation, but I don't know, I can kind of like push through without much food. Like I think being on like the ambulance, we're so used to like not getting a break and like not eating all the time. So I think I just got like kind of used to like surviving on not much, but that was a no-brainer for me. I was like, you guys can go eat and I'll try my best to like get one more step in this game. And it was so funny because I actually got it. The boys were so upset. You should have seen their faces. They were just like, oh, no. And especially Mark, because I know Mark was also on that like bottom end, and he was just like, damn it.
All right. Well, I have two more questions. One, during Raymond's amazing vote, were you worried about when Kirby handed you the immunity necklace, if that may blow things up?
Yeah, love Raymond, but man, in the show, he was on my back every day. He's like, I'm voting you out, or like, he's like, you went out too hard, too strong, and I was just like, I don't know what I've done to you, Raymond, but he just always kept saying that. He just was like, had a bee in his bonnet about me. He just thought I made Kirby stronger. I think he could see that because he's actually a very smart guy. So I was like a little bit worried because Raymond, you just never know what Raymond was going to do. Like he said to us sometimes he was going to vote for someone. Then next minute he just goes somewhere else. So I felt better with Kirby's necklace, and but he proved me wrong. He actually voted for like who said he was going to. So I didn't need it, but I 100% felt a lot better that I had it, definitely.
I don't blame you. My final question is, when you close your eyes and you think back to your time on Survivor, what do you see?
I actually, when I close my eyes, I just remember us all being on the beach, and I loved how none of us had our phones, we didn't have any technology, and we actually would just sit out, look at the stars, and actually like communicate and just talk on another level. And the friendships that I've built out there, I literally, that to me is like, it's just so warming that I have that with all these people out on the show. And I don't know if everyone would have that experience in their lifetime. So I feel very privileged to have that time with this group of people. And yeah, it's been really precious. And this experience I will never forget. So.
Yep. And then you'll never forget on Blood versus Water with me. So.
Of course. And that will be just like the next epic bit.
Exactly.
Going back on.
Well, the last question I have is if you're on social media, where can people follow you?
Yeah, so there's like Instagram, so it's just Rianna Bowley, and then also same on Facebook. And then I also have a renovation page if anyone wants to see me doing some weird renovations to an old house. There's Re_renos, which is quite funny. I have no idea what I'm doing. I watch YouTube a lot and just hope for the best. So we'll see what happens with this house.
Well, thank you for coming on. It was amazing
thank
to
you.
have you. You know how much I appreciate you. So thank you again for taking time out of your busy 12-hour schedule to do this.
Oh, you're more than welcome. And thanks for having me. And it's lovely seeing you guys. It was great.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rianna.
Amazing.
No
The
worries.
challenge beast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
ya.
Ray.
Bye.
Bye.
We move on to episode 20, and this is where Rianna is gonna go, unfortunately, and Kirby wins the final 7 immunity, and so yeah, it spells certain doom for Rianna because people aren't gonna risk taking Rianna farther where she can win the next few challenges.
Yeah, I don't blame it. I mean,
yeah,
when the challenge beast is free to go home, you send
right
home.
Right, especially this late.
Yeah, like this is really interesting because it's Kirby who's in the firing line, and Kirby makes a crazy play where she says, "Look, I'm willing to let go of Rianna at this point," and trying to save herself. So then, when Kirby wins immunity, all of a sudden she's put Rianna in the firing line by making the deal with Feras, and now she's trying to backtrack. But I really like that from Kirby, where it's almost like Kirby is the bigger player, but she's using Rianna as a shield in this moment, as a physical threat. So it's like, okay, if I don't win immunity, I need something that I can fall back on, and it's sacrificing my shield.
Right.
And speaking of the immunity, this is one that I think we touched on in part 1 just a little bit. But this is like the dominoes, where they're holding up a heavy weight, which is such a nice little twist. Like, I love how Australian Survivor takes normal things and just makes it just a little bit harder.
Yeah, I think I said this in the chat when I was rewatching this episode, and I said just a cool variation as well. Like, it's just we don't see variations in some of these challenges in American Survivor. So
yeah, not at all.
anything else before we hit the tribal?
Yes. Feras has a great read on Kirby. So he knows Kirby would do an all-girls alliance. So he mentions that to Caroline without knowing for sure. And then Caroline confirms the all-girls.
Yeah, and that shows that seed of doubt within Caroline for Kirby, that she's been telling Feras this stuff and she actually hasn't.
Yeah.
Such a good read.
And then Kirby has a great confessional after that. Paranoia is now a part of my experience. It wasn't for 40 days.
Yeah. I love how open Feras and Kirby are with each other as well, like about being shields for each other, and she says she's willing to go to the end with Feras at this point, and that's when the whole argument about the best versus the best comes up. As Ric Flair would say, to be the man, you got to beat the man, and it would have led to a fantastic final tribal council, but yeah, not to be.
And before we get to tribal, this is where Kitty also can't lie again, where Rianna confronts her. I know there was a plan for me tonight, and then Kitty goes, "I'm voting for you. I'm voting with you."
I was like, "What are you saying?"
Yeah, crazy.
God, I don't know. I might, like, in that instance, if someone slips up like that at this late in the game, I might try to use it against them, perhaps. Like, I don't know, like, if someone's that late is just gonna slip up, and you know, that could be a reason to target them. But
I think that is a reason, but with how the lines were drawn here, and it was Reed the challenge beast versus Kitty, who's kind of like more like not really a player.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. So we get to tribal. Anything of note that ends up being said at this tribal?
I just think it's kind of a fitting bookend that as Rihanna's votes are being read out, she complains about people spelling her name wrong, which Kirby also does at an earlier tribal council. So that little friendship there, they both have the same issue with people misspelling their name.
Yep. Matt, you anything?
I said earlier Eden was the most heartbreaking vote out, but no, this is the most heartbreaking vote out for me on a personal level. But I texted Ree to ask her about this stuff, and she was just happy to be there. And like, even though she got voted out, I complimented her on her. Like, she was smiling, she was just having a blast, and she's like, "Yeah, it was just a great time to be there." I don't blame her.
Yeah, I'm always glad to hear someone has a great experience playing the game, and so I mean,
Yeah.
majority of this cast really did. So.
Yeah, it seems so. Yeah, like
Yeah.
people really took it on the chin. You didn't get many bitter people within this. Where whenever someone was eliminated, you saw them handling it with grace and just enjoying the game. And it's little things like that that lead to a good season too. Like no one likes a really bitter duo where it gets very like hate filled towards the end. This was more like focused on the game and having a fantastic season.
Absolutely.
So you're saying Gabon? It's just like Gabon, zero bitterness.
And Samoa, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, so Rihanna's gonna go, and we are on to episode 21, which is the kitty boot and Caroline trying to pull a move unsuccessfully. So unfortunately for her, but fortunately because Feras doesn't go here. But anything from this episode before we get to that tribal?
I really like Kirby's directness. She really makes everyone uncomfortable at camp after the Rihanna vote, where she's just very open and like it's not abrasive, but she's just honest, and you can see everyone being a bit uncomfortable with it, and she just doesn't care to say what she thinks, and I think that's an underrated quality in people.
Yeah.
And then also Kirby goes looking for an idol, but Caroline finds it. As Caroline said in her deep dive with Shannon, she actually found it a few days before this, but they just showed it on this to make it like seem like there's something still there.
Oh.
And she has a great line when she finds her idol of fucking Ripper.
I'd be so happy to find an idol. Are you kidding?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I think there's been a couple other people that have said like Ripper. I believe Luke said it constantly. So
Yeah,
in
very
his
Aussie.
season,
Ripper,
very Aussie.
yeah. Anything else? The immunity challenge, I believe Kirby wins again. Here.
This is the wobbly maze, and you have to stack blocks.
Yeah.
As they announce the challenge, Feras and Kirby have this great interaction. Feras, I hate being a giant, and then Kirby immediately says, "Get little."
And yeah, this is also where we get Caroline's plan with the idol to play it for Mark and take out Feras. And I think at this point, like if we talked about earlier, actually, with Mark having a similar plan where he wants to play an idol and he wants to bring in the rebel minority to help him. I think in a situation like that where you're planning a big move, you can't just rely on people doing what they said they're going to do. Like it has to be show people your idol. This is what we're going to do. Tell Mark that you're going to do it, and make sure you at least have the second in number of votes on Feras, because this would have been a fantastic move. And you know, Caroline's going to talk about a final tribal council as an amazing move, but unfortunately it doesn't work. But if it did, I think that's absolutely something that could have won the game if she managed to pull that off.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
You can go, Matt.
I was going to say, and then she didn't tell Kitty, because I had this note. Caro won't tell Kitty the plan because Kitty can't keep secrets. Caroline even says that. It's like, how's that your number one ally? It's like, that's just hard. That's just rough.
That's fair. I mean, like, unfortunately, like, I think they needed Mark, Kitty, and Caroline needed to all vote for Feras here.
Yeah, for sure.
So they did not. So,
but as Feras said in Shannon's deep dive, if anybody would have played the idol for who he was voting for, then he would have played his idol.
Sure, yeah.
Of course, yeah. I believe that.
Yeah. And then speaking of how this being such an easy vote, there's this exchange from Feras and Kirby. Feras goes, this feels like a day off. I wish all tribals were like this. And then Kirby goes, nah, I like to challenge myself.
God, I love their dynamic. It's
so good. Yeah. So good.
But yeah, so we get to this tribal, and Caroline unfortunately fails to get Feras out here, and Kitty is gonna go with the 4 votes. So
as we talked to him about this, Caroline does at least give Feras his 1 vote that he receives in this game. So taking away his chance at a perfect game there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Any thoughts on Kitty? I know she didn't get a good edit, really at all, but like, I don't know. I mean, she seems like a strong lady, and I can see why she was cast.
Yeah, seems like a super nice person. I follow her on Instagram, and the work she does for women is amazing. But just as a Survivor player, I just don't think it was there. Because I think she came out to maybe promote her business, as some other survivors have said. So
yeah, I mean, I think you need a nice mix, and that it explains why her edit was probably poor, because she didn't really understand the game, so she wasn't giving as much.
Yeah, she was like she was a decent part of that middle-aged mafia group, and she was a solid member. But obviously, the strategic side and the game side very much fell with your Marks, your Edens, your Carolines, and she was just within that group, but didn't necessarily contribute within the strategic side that we saw, at least.
I think they were maybe trying to cast the next Janine, but then Kitty just didn't have that strategy there.
Yeah, there's only one Janine Alice.
Yeah.
There's only one godmother.
So good.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, episode 22. This is unfortunately the Kirby boot episode, but we do get some great moments. We of course have Feras and Ray planting the fake idol for Raven to find, which is just such a genius move.
Genius.
So even if Ray was maybe a bit too obvious about it, as we learned from Feras, but it was still really, 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 really smart.
So smart. And we'll in the voting confessionals for Ferris's winning vote at the end, this is what Mark brings up as he votes for Feras, saying like, you completely fooled me with that. And it's is this final five? Final five yet. So a final five with one person having individual immunity, Feras having his idol that everyone knows about, to take someone else completely off the radar and it never even be discussed, especially your number one ally, it's just fantastic. And it makes it between two people that can go home and no one ever even questions it.
Yeah, for sure. Matt, anything from episode 22?
I watched this episode after we talked to Feras, and he was not fucking joking. Raymond just goes right up to to that tree. It's like, oh my god,
that burn 100 times.
Yeah.
I would be if I was Mark, I would be pulling out my hair because by this point he had some of his hair back. I would be pulling it out.
Squeeze it.
Yeah.
We also get Raymond biting the idol, which is just a fun little Raymond moment.
Make sure it's not chocolate.
Yeah.
If I was Feras, I'm like, don't bite my idol.
And the immunity challenge, Mark wins. Which one was this again that he won?
The Samotion one.
Yes, Samotion.
Of the Australian one.
Yeah, and he's the last one to drop. And Mark's celebrations are always fun.
Yeah, he really kind of was emotional about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of crazy that this challenge is now responsible for two huge players going home because they lose this challenge. This is the challenge that Luke goes home in contenders, champions versus contenders too. And now this is where we lose Kirby, who's like just one of the biggest parts of this season. So yeah, and Kirby, when she loses it, she's in big trouble. And it's when your last chance is to, again, it is very similar to that vote where Luke is trying to get Pia to, give him a chance and go to fire. And here we get Kirby saying, her only hope is for Feras to play an idol for her. So it's kind of a desperate last gasp where you think it's not really going to happen.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, this is also the challenge where Kelly Wentworth goes home in second chances as well. So again, it seems to just take out big players.
Yeah, and then whoever was in the final five in Blood versus Water, Australia, I don't even remember, but that person went home.
I think it was like KJ or something.
Yeah,
so.
I think it was. Yeah, okay, yeah, another big player. Yeah,
Luke Torkey, Kirby, Kelly Wentworth, KJ.
There's also a bunch of new era people that lost fire after this challenge. So, but
Yeah, that's
No,
a,
no
we're
one,
not
no
we're
one
not
cares
talking about the
about
new
that.
era and
Yeah.
the forced fire making. It's not the same.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. All right. Yeah, so anything else before we get to the tribal council where Kirby goes home? All right.
Just like Feras said in our interview, if I was Kirby, I would be like, why didn't you plant the fake idol for fucking me? So
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and so we get to tribal, and Kirby and Ray decide that Feras and Ray, I'm sorry. Feras and Ray decide that they're not going to save Kirby with Ferris's idol, and they're going to vote her out. And in Ferris's words, he wants to back himself and believes he can win the next challenge anyway. But yeah, so Kirby is gonna go, unfortunately, and just such a big player, and I can't wait to see her back in some future seasons.
Yeah, for sure. And a great speech from Ferris about backing himself and kind of putting down the shield and almost like picking up the sword of I'm gonna bet on myself here. And
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into the heartbreak that comes in the next episode relating to that.
Mhm.
yeah. If I was Ferris and I bet on myself, I would probably lose. So good for Ferris actually pulling out. But yeah, Kirby's definitely coming back, whether in like an All Stars or Australia versus the world, I don't know. So we'll see. But she's definitely coming back. Like she's the biggest lock of the season besides Ferris, the Ferris one.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Episode 23. This is the final 4 round, and this is where Ray is going to lose fire after Mark wins his second immunity in a row, which is this is the one with the letters, right?
No, this is
throwing the ball.
Throwing
Yeah,
the ball. Okay,
yeah.
For some reason I was thinking letters. I don't know why.
Yeah, but yeah, this is kind of like, well, because this is basically like what they did in Heroes versus Villains, but there was like a puzzle at the end, so maybe that's what you were.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking of. But yeah, I remember now the balls and him and Ferris are throwing, and Mark just pulls ahead and gets his last couple balls in before Ferris. So, which is a big emotional thing. Mark has a lot of emotions. Ferris has a lot of emotions.
Yeah,
it's very big for both of them, and I think that just makes it that much more interesting.
I also really like before this immunity challenge that Ferris is very preemptive about getting things in place just in case he doesn't win. So he makes the deal with Caroline to go for Mark, and he makes the deal with Mark that they would go for Raymond. So yeah, it's really impressive that we get to this final 4 and Ferris isn't really an option, which is crazy.
Well, and man, I'm sure you want to talk about this, but this is where Nathan's jacket comes into play, where Ferris is wearing the jacket and makes the deal with Caroline to keep him safe. So
yeah, she talked about this in her deep dive, where this was Ferris's way of showing Caroline that he was going to honor his deal, but then he still votes for her. So
yeah.
But like,
it's also you go, Jake.
I was just gonna say, I mean, like, but at this point, his hands are kind of tied because he's been with Raymond the whole game. Raymond's his ride or die, and like he either has to go with the new deal, help Bo Ray out, and like risk betraying him at this late stage of the game, or at least give his closest ally the chance to survive and like break this new deal. I don't know. He's kind of in a tough spot at this point. I think clearly Ferris made the right decision in at least letting Ray go to fire.
Yeah, I mean, Ferris even mentions it, that they could be trying to split their votes, and then the two of them vote for Ferris, which Shannon Gus would have loved, because that would have been a plurality vote at Final 4, which who doesn't love that? But yeah, I think in a situation like that, where you have your closest ally in the game still there at Final 4, you can guarantee that you're not going to get screwed. You at least have a chance at fire for one of you. So yeah, that makes total sense to me. One thing on the immunity challenge that I thought was really odd is we don't actually see Mark getting his necklace. They're celebrating their win, and then it just cuts back to them at camp. We don't get the formal thing of JLP putting the necklace on and telling him he has a 1 in 3 short of winning the game. It's the first time I can remember seeing that in Survivor. It just cuts back to camp.
That's interesting. Yeah, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, well, probably because they had to focus on the fire making, because they
There
had
was a lot, yeah.
they had an amazing shot of Feras, and all you can hear is just Raymond clicking the flint and not getting, like, that was great
Yeah.
production by them. It's like, because you just see Ferris's face just like slowly start to sink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It's really good. Anything else on our good friend Raymond here? On his way
Before we
out?
get to the tribal council, we have Raymond saying to Mark, "It's luck," and Mark being like, "It's not luck, mate." And I
Yeah.
really didn't like that from Raymond. I was like, "Yeah, Mark's worked really hard, and he's pulled out these challenges, and like,
Yeah.
it ain't luck. He really worked for it."
Yeah, I mean, you do work to win this stuff. I do see, like, I mean, luck plays a huge factor in
Well, yeah.
some things in this game. Like, I mean, you get lucky, things go your way, and because of course you can't control what everybody else does. But you know, I think this I do agree with, like, Mark as well, in the sense that, like, you know, you work your ass off for it, and you get there,
Yeah.
you deserve recognition for what you were able to pull off.
And when you're in that like moment where you've won this immunity and you're proud of yourself and you know you're safe for final 3, which is huge. Like, you don't want someone being like, "Hey, you just got lucky." It's like, no, you
Yeah.
you worked really hard for this.
Mhm.
Mark, speaking of Mark, he also comes out swinging at tribal council. This is where he really comes for Feras, and talks about the double deals that Feras has made with everyone at tribal
Mhm.
council as a final 3. So he has to break at least one deal here at this tribal.
Mhm. Yeah. So, any thoughts as Raymond loses the fire challenge? And
He'll definitely be back. I definitely see him coming back, and
Mhm.
I really hope so. Because then he'll get a bigger edit. Because just because Ferris won, we basically get all of Raymond's moves like almost attributed to Ferris.
Yeah. I liked Raymond from the beginning. When I saw, like, the cast come out, and I'm like, oh, cool. I feel like I can relate to this guy a little bit, and just like, yeah, just everything that I expected from Raymond and hoped that he would be able to make it far. Like, I really liked him on this season. It was definitely one of my favorites. Spoiler for that award. That it's going to be between 2 people, and Raymond's one of them, of course. So.
Oh, and Tobias is the other. This is gonna be a tight
Yes,
race.
yeah.
One final thing on Raymond is he goes out in typical Raymond fashion in his exit confessional where he says, "I wanted to go down with the bang, down with a bang, out with a bang." He just kind of fumbles over his words, and it's like perfect way for Raymond to go out.
I love him just, like, even running out after he runs up to get his torch stuff and just, like, runs.
Yeah.
Just so fun. All right. The finale of Titans versus Rebels, our final episode of Australian Survivor to cover up until the new seasons drop. Yeah, we get to the final 3 challenge, aka the Ferris wheel.
Yep.
So it's just crazy too. Like, as Feras said, you could not script this any better, that Feras wins the Ferris wheel challenge.
Yeah, I thought Caroline had it. She looked so solid until they got to that final peg. And it's fantastic final immunity. I really like this one.
Yeah. This is probably, well, spoiler, this is probably why I'm picking as the most brutal final challenge in Australia. Because not only are you on the wheel, but that fire like is going, and then I was thinking about this. Ferris kind of got lucky on where he was. He was in the middle, where Mark and Caroline each had an additional fire on their side. So I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
sure.
I think position does matter a little bit in something like this, and I mean, like, I think it's been said before that, like, they randomly drop for positions in these challenges.
Yeah,
so.
they do. Yeah, so it was, as Raymond then would say, it was luck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, and their family members come out. Caroline's husband, Mark's wife, and Ferris's wife.
Mark's done well for himself.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Something I learned from Mark's deep dive, you can see that his wife is wearing a very familiar dress Shawnee's dress because his wife is a big fan of Shawnee.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And, then also, as I kind of briefly with Feras, he wasn't expecting his wife to be there because she is afraid of flying. So he didn't know until something that wasn't shown, but he said this on Shannon's deep dive. When Mark's wife comes out, she says, "Your wife is lovely," and then he realizes, well, how would she know that unless if my wife is here? And then I know, watching this back, you can see Feras start getting very emotional before his wife even comes out because he knows she's there.
Well,
yeah, it's like when Caroline's talking about her husband, he's like choked up right next to her. Yeah.
Well, and JLP asks him who he wants to see, and he says his wife. So he obviously at that point said it, knowing that his wife was there. So yeah, oh, that's really cool. So I always like the way Australian Survivor does this, where they bring in the loved ones on the final challenge and the final tribal.
And for the vote, it's cool.
It's so good. I mean, if I was ever on a Australian Survivor, my loved one would be Reed. So
mine would be Nina.
Okay, Jake, go. No.
Malcolm.
That would actually be amazing.
All right. We end up having Feras win the challenge, and we're gonna head to final three tribal. Everybody sits down, and then you have the jury coming in, and you have the greatest reaction from Raymond seeing Feras win immunity, and JLP's like, and then Raymond cuts him off. He's like, "Oh, and Raymond."
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's just so funny. So, so then Feras is going to vote Mark out, and Mark is going to be the fallen angel of the season.
One thing I wish we would have asked Feras is if they had any time between the challenge and the tribal council to see, so like Mark and Caroline had time to pitch themselves, or if it was just like they just had to pitch themselves at tribal. From
what it seems, I feel like they don't really have much time because it's the final immunity challenges and everything is usually on that second to last day, and it obviously goes like super late into the night. So I assume they just go right there and have to pitch themselves. That's what it seemed every season they do this too. So
it kind of sucks if you're especially for Mark, who I felt like was clearly the one that was going to go here, that you don't get much time to try and sell yourself. And if they managed to go back to camp and have some conversations, like maybe he could have had some kind of argument, but it's very difficult, the tribal council, to just, switch things up.
Yeah. And like Mark could have been a really good speaker. I mean, obviously Caroline and Feras were both very, very nervous, and Mark is used to this kind of, public speaking and everything as a diplomat. So like Mark could have done very, very well.
Yeah, I think Mark at Final Tribal would have been very interesting, and I think it would have given a very assured Final Tribal performance. And it's always that thing of kind of wondering which combinations, if it went differently, how things would have gone. I think Mark had a real chance of winning if he'd made it through this night.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna rank fallen angels, I mean, I still think George is probably number one. And then I don't know, Mark would probably be in that top three of the fallen angels.
Yeah, I think
and Dirty Harry.
I was gonna say Michael would definitely put Harry.
Yeah, so George, Harry, Mark, maybe top three.
George, Harry, L.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's get to final tribal council, shall we?
Before that, something really odd. When Mark is walking up to get his torch snuffed, he's got his bag on his shoulder, and he has like 20 shoes just tied to his bag, hanging down. I was just so confused why he's got all these shoes. It's the most bizarre thing.
I didn't notice that.
A bag of shoes. It's so weird. It's like he gathered everyone who's been voted out shoes and took them home with him.
So during his deep dive with Shannon, he took the shoelaces of Viola's shoes and wove them into his own shoes. So maybe he just kept doing that and just kept the shoes. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. Go back. There's just so many shoes dangling off his bag. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
And this is, I don't know where I'll be able to mention this. I've talked to some of the Australian survivors, and I've asked them what piece of clothing would you bring on the show, and they all said Mark's poncho because it keeps you warm and it dries very quickly. So I just wanted to give Mark props for that.
Yep.
Poncho's a solid choice.
Yeah. Very good.
Jaden has both Titans tied up. This is going to be an easy win.
All right. Well, welcome to the podcast. Caroline, the runner-up of Titans versus Rebels.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
How you guys going?
Good.
Fantastic.
How did you get on the show and when did you start watching?
So I started watching Survivor back in 2000 and I was addicted. I have been a massive Survivor fan ever since. I've watched every US season 3 or 4 times and obviously became a really big Survivor Australia fan. I applied back in 2019 and I obviously didn't get on the show, and then I applied again last year and so that was my second time applying.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was fated.
It was fated and it was I felt like last year when I did apply, it was a much better time in my life. I didn't apply the years following. We then went into COVID. My mum then got sick and it just personally wasn't the right time. And then when last January rolled around and I got that notification that I could apply, I was like, right, I'm getting on this year. This is happening.
Yeah, that makes sense. It worked out the way it was supposed to.
Yeah, it sure did.
So we get to one of the biggest moves of the entire season where you take out Viola. What went into that move and when was it the right time for you?
Well, I knew it was the right time. I knew that Viola was coming after me. There was a lot going on, obviously, and we had just had tribe swap. I knew that Sarah and Ree were literally fighting for their lives because we were in a majority, and if we were going to make a move, this was going to be a really good opportunity to get some other people to come on side with us, and I could see that. But what was more important was that I could feel Viola coming for me. And, I adored Viola out there and she was a gun, she's an extremely young, intelligent, fit, strong, really courageous player. So I knew she wanted to really go hard and I knew that she was coming after me. So the only thing I could do was try and get her and try and get it as a blindside, because I knew if there was any leaks, if anything got out, that I was going to be screwed. So, yeah, it just felt like the right time. I was really ready to make a big, bold move, and it came at the right time.
Yeah, we see in the edit that Mark and Viola were planning on coming for you at the next tribal council. So it's such a good read on your part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what you don't see in my edit is I really did have a good read on what I felt was going on with the other players. I'm an observer. I've been a midwife and a nurse my whole entire life, and so I am quite a good reader of people, and I'm also an empath, so I can feel feelings, and I really felt like she had kind of withdrawn from me a little bit, and I could see Mark just getting closer and closer. And so Kitty and I both thought, if we take out Viola here, then hopefully that will bring in Mark closer to us. That side didn't work, but we got Viola out.
I need to get you and Cara on a season, empath.
There you go.
Pardon?
I
don't advertise myself as an empath, but I am a very empathetic person, and I feel like I'm a good reader of people.
Okay. Speaking of the edit, you had a pretty big edit during the pre-merge, but then the post-merge happens, and then the edit basically focuses on Kirby versus Feras. So for you, what was your post-merge game like?
Well, it's, exactly, that's what you see from the edit. But, my post-merge game was, I felt it was as fast and as furious as what it had been before. Like, I felt like I was so engaged. Every day out there, all you're doing is thinking, strategizing, what can I do better? How am I going to get myself another further day in the game? If we're going to tribal council, how am I going to keep myself in here? And so you're constantly thinking about it. So I felt like, I knew that obviously Mark was not happy. We needed to bring him back on side. And so it was all about kind of getting the middle-aged mafia back together again, and working with Eden, working with Mark. But, also at the back of my mind, also not knowing kind of where Mark's head was at, but hoping that he was with us. And then the other thing was post-merge was, getting to know Kirby, getting to know Feras, getting to know Raymond and the others. That was awesome, but you're starting again, you've already got to know everyone in your Titans tribe, but then you've got to get to know all these people on the new Rebels tribe and kind of work out where their games were at and where your game fitted into that.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was such a dynamic season that there was so much going on every single episode.
Yeah. The way that they edit it was wild. And, they do kind of do a few switcheroos and things like that. But yeah, it was, I felt like there was so much going on all the time, and so much more than what you saw, even. So much more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So we get the final immunity, and you want to obviously go there with Mark. Feras wins, and that kind of scuppers that plan. How do you think that final immunity goes? That final travel goes, sorry, if you go there with Mark instead?
Well, I'll just talk about the final immunity. I really expected to win that final immunity. I'll be honest with you. I was the lightest of the three of us. It was so hard. It was so painful. We were up there for nearly 4 hours. We've got this wall of flame around us that is boiling. Like, we started in the middle of the afternoon when it's boiling hot anyway, and then we've got this flame around us as well. So even when I got up there, I was feeling faint. Like, I was feeling, I was starving. I'd had a drink. I had as much water as I could possibly tolerate beforehand. But it was, you're not feeling 100%, let me tell you. And so going up there, I know we're all feeling like that. So I fully expected to win. I was really devastated, and I knew that was definitely going to help me in that final tribal council if I got there, because I knew there were a lot of rebels on that final tribal council, so I had my back against the wall. The final tribal council itself was probably like one of the most scariest, but also like I had so much going through my mind, and so much I was thinking about, so much I wanted to get across, so many points I wanted to make. But also, again, you're starving. There's so much. I felt the pressure, and I know we both did. I know Feras did as well. But you've got to get across to the jury that you're the one that's most deserving of it. And it was really, really difficult. But I did feel I did really well in that final tribal council. I didn't want to beg anybody. I didn't want to be a suck. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't want to, I wanted to be genuine. And, I genuinely became extremely good friends with most of the jury, not all of the jury. And I really felt like Feras obviously he had a lot of allies there, and I just had to do my best, and that's all I could do, and I felt I did, and that's all I could do at the time. I have absolutely no regrets about where I came or what I did, or do I think I could have done anything better? No, I'm not hanging on to that at all. I am so incredibly proud of not just the game that I played, but the person I was out there and the way that I was in that final tribal council. I know it doesn't come across, especially in the edit, that I was a fun, happy person, but that's how I am. I'm definitely a fun, happy, adventurous, very gregarious person, but you didn't see that really that much out there. And but there's nothing I can do about the edit. So we called it radical acceptance. From the minute we got out there, you just have to have this radical acceptance of everything that goes on around you is what's meant to happen. And that's where my mindset is at now. I'm so proud of myself. I'm so grateful that I got to play the game that I loved and adored and I'm obsessed by. And it was the time of my life. It changed me as a human in so many ways, and all for the best.
You absolutely should be proud. You played a fantastic game and in a fantastic season too. Like, every single person went out there and played so hard. It was any combination that went to final tribal. It was a satisfying conclusion. You did a great job.
It's so nice of you to say that, and so nice to hear that. We really, really wanted to create an amazing show. Like we definitely tried our best out there. Do you know what I mean? We really tried to push our own boundaries and push everyone else's at the same time. And am I normally a lying, scheming person? Absolutely not. But I just did what I had to do to get myself further in the game, and that's where. And out of 18 tribal councils that I went to, there were only 2 that I didn't know who was going home, and so I knew what was going on. I had a very good take on things. And those 2 people were Kitty and Eden. And I really felt like I had a good grasp of it, but I'm sure other people think they thought the same thing too.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. So at Final Tribal Council, how did you think your game stacked up against Feras's? And did you expect to get some votes after the FTC had the speeches and everything had concluded?
Yeah. I really felt like my game did stack up against Feras's in terms of I had to take so many more risks than he did. He didn't take any risks at all. And no, I'm not bagging his game. I love Feras and I love that he won. But my game had to be a far riskier game than his, and so therefore I did take those risks. And it was hard because then you've got to prove to a lot of those people that were on the jury, or some of those people in the jury didn't know my game. They hadn't seen me do the things that I knew I had done, and I had to prove that, and it's really tough. It was probably for me, it was the hardest tribal council I've ever seen, and I was part of it. I can't believe I was part of it. They were tough. They were so tough. And I couldn't have done any more than I did. Did I expect votes? 100% I expected votes. I definitely I thought that, of course, I would get Kitty's, but I even hoped that I would get Mark's and Valeria's, to be honest. And so when I got no votes, and I didn't know, of course, I didn't know till we all watched it on that night that, and afterwards I had a really big party that night. And it wasn't until I was just literally standing up, looking up at the television screen, watching everybody's votes, that I realized that I hadn't received one. And that was gut-wrenching. And I've done a lot of work to kind of get through that, because I think that was the hardest. But in the end, like I said to you earlier, I know I played a really amazing game. I'm such a strong game. I'm so proud of it. Could I have done anything a bit differently? Well, you go back and you think, there are some decisions in hindsight that I probably could have made that would have been better, but I can't do that. I can't go back. I can't think about that, and I'm not going to ruminate about that. I'm just going to be super proud of what I've done.
And
As
you
we
should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We
Yeah.
always talk about
Thanks.
like which Zero Vote finalists deserved some votes, so I feel
Mhm.
like the game
Yeah.
warranted that, and your name is absolutely in that consideration. You played a
Mhm.
great game.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because it's you and Stephen Fishback.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
somebody, he
Yes,
definitely should have
exactly.
It's
Carolyn
good, it's good
Weiger as
company.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
So-
anyway, I think what I I know obviously what those guys have said, and I reiterate the same. We were just happy to be there. We were happy to be in that final tribal council, and if I ever get the opportunity again, then bloody hell, I'll fucking give it a good crack.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Absolutely, we'd love to see you play again. So how was the response to the show going out for you? You kind of go out there and play, and then you get to see it air on TV.
Well, my edit on TV, I reckon I got the villain edit. So it was quite difficult for my family to see because I'd come home and, told them bits and pieces and stuff. But it wasn't until we were watching that I could say, oh, it didn't happen like that. Like it happened like this and that, it was quite different. I mean, not everything, of course, but I mean, I could say in the moment, things happened differently here. But then also because they're seeing that villain side of me and that non-smiling kind of strategic villain edit, I was like, I was so happy out there. I was like giddy with joy every day, skipping down the jungle paths because I was so happy to be there. Just like, I'm doing this. This is really happening. I'm so excited to be here and I'm going to give it everything. And I did. I would say, like, going and watching it, it was fantastic and like crazy at the same time. I mean, I am so proud of the show, but it was one of the craziest experiences watching it back, and all the online bullying and stuff like that. There was a lot of shit online about me, and I had to stop reading, listening, watching. I had to just stop all of that because there was obviously a lot of good stuff as well, but there was a lot of hate, and to get through that time, I just had to kind of protect myself. And I'd see my kids on the Facebook page and stuff like that, Survivor Fans Facebook page, and they're in there trying to stick up for me, and I'm just like, oh my God, I can't watch and read this anymore. But my kids were
crazy.
unreal.
Well, I'm sorry of all the bad things, but I'm glad that you have found like friendly people like us, and some of us Mace and you Pops made of Todd is one of the best Pops.
Exactly.
Todd. It is one of the best Pops Todd has ever made. I'm saying that right now. It is incredible. And speaking of good times, my favorite question to always ask every survivor is, when you close your eyes, what image do you see when you think back to your time on Survivor?
It's going to bring tears to my eyes. I think of, just sitting on that beach with that jungle behind me and that big ocean in front of me. And when you're doing it, it's hard to believe it's a TV show, because you're so in the moment and you're so engaged with all these people that have become so close to you, like family. That's what I remember. I remember just sitting on the beach and with that jungle behind me and that ocean in front. And at night, those stars couldn't have been more vivid if they tried. It was amazing. It was absolutely incredible. Loved it.
It's great to hear. My last question is, if you're on social media, where can people follow you?
So I'm on Instagram as Mamalicious, or you can just search me as Caroline Courtis. And I'm also on TikTok. I need to do a few more TikTok videos, but I did a few TikToks when I got back. I had a bit of fun doing that. And my TikTok is, I think it's Mamalicious1. You'll find me. You just search for Caroline Courtis once again, or Mama Lucius, and you'll find me for sure.
Perfect. Thanks so much
Will
for
do.
coming on, Caroline.
Yes.
I'm just
Thank
going to
you.
put the video back on again. Thank you so much
Yay.
for having me. I've
Thank you for
loved
doing
talking
this.
to you, and
It's an
I
absolute
wish you
pleasure.
all the best with the podcast.
Thank you.
And you know, if there's anything else I can do for you guys, you know, I'm right there for you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Caroline.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
take
so
care.
much.
Have a
It's
good day.
amazing to talk to
Bye.
You too.
Or night.
Bye.
Bye.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Matt.
All right. So final tribal council rolls around, and we talked about this, and yeah, so Caroline and Feras very nervous. I mean, both are, you know, trying to claim things, and just like, you know, it I've been there, so I know how it is.
Rub it in.
Yeah, man, what the fuck, man?
But no, it's so difficult. I've been on both sides of it, with Vanquish being successful and Power Grab losing. And I would actually say the time I won was actually the more nerve-wracking. I was more nervous that time than I was the time I lost at Final Tribal. So like it's a very nerve-wracking experience. And I'm sure like it's even more nerve-wracking on the actual show for actual money.
With
So
Oh,
$500 million
yeah.
on
Yeah.
the line, yeah.
yeah.
We'll take your word for it. We have no.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, maybe not soon though.
I've just gotten really good at being a jury member. I think we rank so many things on Survivor. I think if you have to rank who's the best jury member, I take that. I feel like
would
I'm
agree.
a good jury member.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, any thoughts on like the speeches and the cases that are made here?
It's always difficult with Final Trial because we see such a condensed version of it, and I wish they'd release like a longer edit of Final Trial, because like if you're really into the season, it'd be good to see more detail from that. But yeah, we just don't see them really selling their game with confidence, and especially Feras, who you know, he did so many amazing moves in this season, and from what we see in the edit, he really doesn't claim those things with confidence and talk about them. And it's only really the way he played the idols that he really sells, ironically, because he did never play one right. But that's his big kind of move that he sells himself on, when there was so many other moves as well that were really impressive from Feras and Caroline, but we don't really see it within the edit of the show.
Yeah, one thing that definitely I was like, I wish Caroline got even more credit for the Viola move, and like,
yeah,
I feel like the problem is that the jury sees what, you know, only what happened since the jury phase, and they're not looking at the pre-merge phase, which I think you should look at everybody's game, because you can have a really good thing going on for the first little bit of the game, and you know, you should get credit for your entire game, not just like some of it. So
that's like a real bugbear of mine. Like, I really hate that often in Survivor and in Orgs and, you know, all these things, the pre-jury is almost like completely disregarded. And it's a huge part of the game, and it's what sets you up for the merge. Like, your pre-jury is, you know, no one gets to the end without having a good, you know, solid, well, some people do, but like having a good solid pre-jury where you're you know, you've made big moves and you've got things to say about it, and it shouldn't just be disregarded because those people aren't on the jury. It's still an impressive part of your game that should contribute towards your win if you're going for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I just think that her pre-merge game wasn't really broad, because I was doing the math in my head. I think there's only 2 people on the jury who were there during the Viola blindside. So I think that may have hurt her too, because almost all those other players were on the other tribe.
Right.
Which as Michael said, is kind of unfair, because you need to consider the entire game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it ends up being that they both state some things they did. Unfortunately, you know, Caroline's game is disregarded, even like, you know, she does claim something that was unsuccessful, unfortunately, but like, I mean, I feel
2
like
seasons in a row we have that. We have Matt claiming a move that didn't happen in Heroes versus Villains, and then we have
Yeah.
Caroline claiming one in this season.
Yep.
Speaking of claiming moves, I just thought this was a great quote from Feras. In such a fluid season where everyone was working with everyone, it's hard to say this move was purely me, but I can claim bluffing my idol. So I just thought, that was good because he's right. It's hard to claim any real move during the season.
Like a solely yours, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, we get to the votes, and I mean, we know, I mean, we think Caroline's gonna get a few votes from like Kitty and Mark. I think some of it, like, I definitely thought that Caroline was gonna get a few, and like we knew a few were definitely voting for Feras, like Raymond and probably Kirby. So it's just gonna come. We think it might be a little closer, and unfortunately for Caroline, Feras is able to win 9-0, and I love Feras. I absolutely think he deserved to win. I agree that like Caroline should have gotten a few again, and it shouldn't have been 9-0. But like, very good on Feras though. He's one of my favorite winners, and like, so I would rank him very highly. So
like I mentioned this in our interview with Caroline. Like when we talk about zero vote finalists, like absolutely Caroline is top tier of those zero vote finalists. She played a fantastic game, and sadly we didn't see a lot of it during merge. Hopefully we get to talk to her again and go through her game, because I think Caroline was an amazing player, and we talked about Kitty being maybe that Janine archetype. I think Caroline was a really good mix of like a Janine and a Pia, and then that kind of really strong social and strategic gameplay, and she just had things not go her way sometimes. But she was someone who had like a solid read on things and really good relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. I would also throw in a little Sharn, but only the good parts for Caroline. Then I also noticed during the votes, 3 people did not know how to spell Ferris's name: Alex, Jaden, and Kitty, and they were all different spellings. So I just found that's
funny.
But before the votes were read, their family comes out. Then there's this great interaction. Feras goes, Feras, I told you, Kirby, I was punching way above my weight, referring to his wife. And then she immediately says, I didn't want to say anything. Like, I just thought,
it's really sweet.
Kirby's comedy, like, her timing is perfect.
Yeah. So with that, I think that's the end of our episode breakdowns, and we can head on to our rankings and awards. So let's do our awards. Favorite players. So I have Feras and Raymond. I love both of them. I guess if I had to pick one, I'm gonna go with Feras, but just a lot of people to pick from, and I'm gonna go with Feras.
Yeah, I think Feras is fantastic. I personally think that Kirby is one of the most impressive players I've seen, and she's such a strong, confident player, and she plays a big game kind of unapologetically. I agree. Like, I think Feras is probably my favorite, but I would go with Kirby just because of what she brought to this season, and this season has improved 100 times over because of what Kirby brings to it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, this is like really hard to pick because like almost like 16 of the 24 players are amazing. And they're like, they all had like their favorite things. So since you already picked Feras and you already picked Kirby, I'm trying to think of somebody to make it. I'll pick Kirby. Just because like to me, I thought she played like a stronger game. But she played it too hard, so that made her the target versus Feras. And then as Feras said, he knows how to revolutionize it in Idol.
Yep, absolutely. Least favorite player, I'm gonna go with Tobias. I think he was just a big dud on the cast, and just like any of those funny moments just came off cringe, and it's just absolutely. I'm glad he went early.
Well, I hate to do it, but I have to. I've got to go with Jaden. He seems like a really like bubbly personality and a fun guy, but in terms of like gameplay, I just don't like a player that just relies on everyone else doing the work and them just being given a name. He manages to make it deep within the game, but he doesn't really contribute anything of his own outside of flipping his vote on a tie break, which still wasn't really a plan that was put in place. He just flipped his vote in the end. To me, Jaden's just not a player that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Okay. I would pick Tobias, but then I realized he wasn't even really a player. So I will pick Nathan just because he's just a little bit above Tobias, but he played, but did he?
No.
Is it too late considering me and Matt both picked Kirby? Can I amend my favorite player?
Yeah, go for it.
To the jacket?
No, you know what? I'm gonna go Kelly.
Oh,
We've spoken a lot about like the big players like Feras and Kirby. We saw it when we spoke to her in our interview, and we've heard other people talk about it. Like Feras did in the interview. Like Kelly added so much entertainment to this season.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like she wasn't a great player by any stretch, but like she was fantastic entertainment, and her episodes made this pre-merge absolute top tier. And then we get into the merge, and the gameplay just escalates. But Kelly's a big part of why this season's so much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. As Raymond said,
can I amend my? No, I'm just
No, I want someone to have Kirby.
Yeah. Well, as Raymond said in his interview with us, like he said, like Kelly was a huge part of those early episodes. Wouldn't have been nearly as good without her. So
absolutely.
All right. So then the best move, I'm gonna go with Raymond's ultimate advantage play to get Valeria out. I just think that whole episode and the way Feras and Raymond played it was just so crazy and so fun that I have to give them the Oscar for this one.
Yeah. Do you want to go, Matt? I don't have anything. Off the top of my head.
Okay, good. Because I was like, don't take mine. You always take all my shit. No, I'm going Caroline getting Viola out because that was like the first like true blindside, like powerful blindside of the season, and then that really set like the standard for this season.
Yeah.
I think I'll go with our good buddy Eden going out. Just the fact that plan was changed on the fly, and it was something that really saved their alliance, and Raymond goes home at that point, if not for Ferris's amazing read on the situation. I think that's something that in that early merge, when you really want things to go into your control and be on the right side of the numbers, a situation like that going in your favor is huge, and that's down to amazing reads from Feras, Kirby, and Eileen, who all kind of saw the direction of things changing.
Yeah. Yep. All right, and who should return? I had multiple options.
Almost everybody. I feel like besides like 5 people, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna pick one. I think because I had Feras, Kirby, and Raymond down, but there's only one for me that really truly deserves like a shot to get to jury at least. Let's put Eden down, and I think Eden absolutely deserves a second shot, and I hope he gets it. So.
I think you will.
I think you can make an argument for everyone post-merge. You could say bring them back. So I'm going to focus on pre-merge, and I think Kelly absolutely, Eden absolutely are both players that I'd love to see back. And they were very different players, but I think that and also Garrick was.
I almost got it in there before you stole it.
I'll take Kelly and Eden. And who do you have, Matt?
Well, I don't know now. No, but if we just like don't count everybody who made the merge because they're like all good. So definitely Ree, but only if I get to come back with her. Yeah, I would probably go Garrick or Viola.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, good call.
Yeah, both are great calls. All right, so then let's head to our winner rankings and our season rankings. So we're gonna stick to ranking them with each other, like the winner rankings with Australian and season rankings with Australian seasons, just for I mean, I think what I can put the Titans versus Rebels, I think I know where it's gonna go in the like global season rankings anyway. So I'll put it there. But winner rankings, let's rank Feras. Right now it is the Golden God at number 1, Mark Wales at number 2, Haley at 3, Pia at 4, Liz at 5, Jericho at 6, Christy at 7, and Shane Gold at number 8. So for me, I honestly would put Feras in the top 3. I know Mark had a pretty dominant game in Blood versus Water, but I'm going to put Feras at number 2 for me because I do think David undoubtedly has played the best game in Australian Survivor history, but I think Feras is a pretty good second in that regard, and he was just playing with such a fun cast of great players, and so I want to give second place to Feras.
Yeah, I think Mark, I would say Mark played a stronger winning game in terms of, how dominant he was. But in terms of the cast of Blood versus Water versus the cast of Titans versus Rebels, I think, Ferris's winning game is more impressive because there was just so much going on. Whereas Blood versus Water, there was a lot of, just by the numbers votes, at which you didn't get a single tribal council like that in Titans versus Rebels. So yeah, I'd agree with that. I think what David managed to do in All Stars with his threat level still remains unbeaten. But I'd be happy to slide Feras in underneath that.
Okay.
My turn. Well, where did you say Shane was? Because it'll be right around. No, no. Yeah, basically almost like Michael stole what I was going to say. I'm going to put him above Mark as well because while Mark's game was dominant, I kind of rate winners who win during a half like all-star, half newbie season a little bit lower because they have like almost a unfair advantage. So I'll put Feras because this cast was amazing. And then, as you said, David, I mean, nobody's touching the Golden God.
Yeah, exactly. So
When's he coming in, Matt?
Well, unfortunately we had to push him for a time, so maybe next time.
Yeah. All right, yeah. So Feras is now at number 2, above Mark and below David. So, all right, the season. I mean, I think we know where it's going to go. But currently, the standings are Heroes versus Villains at number 1, Champions versus Contenders 2 at number 2, 2017 at 3, Brains versus Brawn at 4, All Stars at 5, 2016 season 1 at 6. Champions versus Contenders 1 at 7, and then last is Blood versus Water. So I think this is gonna go number 1 for sure.
I would say like it'd be cool if we could have like a tied number 1 with Heroes versus Villains, but like I'm happy for this to be number 1. It's a fantastic season and completely driven by a fresh new cast. Whereas Heroes versus Villains is obviously boosted up by having exciting returning players. This was all people who we had no idea who they were, and they just came out and made survivor legends of themselves, and that's just amazing.
Yeah. So with that,
do I get to say anything?
Yeah.
No,
Sorry.
Everybody knows. I've been very vocal. I think as soon as we started this review with Champions versus Contenders 1, I was like, Titans versus Rebels is going to be number 1.
Yeah.
So it's definitely number 1.
Yeah, I knew that you were going to say that. So with that, I mean, assuming we're going to put it number 1 in the global rankings because we kind of teased that. So yeah, I agree. It's just so amazing that Australia figured out how to, like, they didn't have to rely on the returnees for this. Like, they could find just this brand new cast that was just incredible. And
needless twists as well.
Yes.
Like, they didn't rely on those old kind of tropes that dragged down every season of Survivor Australia. We didn't get it this time. There was a couple of twists, but they weren't awful. They were at least fun.
If I can add an honorable mention to best player of the season, it's going to be David Forrester, just because he built the best back-to-back seasons ever. Like he learned from his mistakes in Heroes versus Villains, and then as Michael said, there was no needless twists. Like maybe just like the bad timing of sending Alex to the other tribe, but there's not really much you can do. Yeah, but there's really not much you could really do with that. So, but David Forrester. But we also have to rank the final challenge. We haven't done that.
Yeah. So the final immunity challenge, I think we said the brutality that Matt, you said it was number 1 for you.
Yeah, because what we had before was Brains versus Brawn as number 1.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. I can't quite remember the rest of them off the top of my head, but I think this one absolutely should be number 1. It's just so unique of a final challenge. Again, American Survivor does not do these types of challenges anymore. like they used to. So I'd like to see these in American Survivor, though. I doubt we're ever going to.
And do you know who we have to blame for that? We have Tom and Ian,
Yeah.
Ian to blame for final immunity challenges, and then we have no more endurance challenges thanks to Christian and David versus Goliath. So
Yeah, sadly.
It's funny as well with the final immunity in Australia. I'm pretty sure our top three were Champions versus Contenders 2, Brains versus Brawn, and now this, which are all kind of escalations of the same kind of challenge, where you have Champions versus Contenders where it's the spikes and holding stuff, but just solidly, and then Brains versus Brawn where the thing retracts and you get less space, and then you get this one where it's spinning around like crazy.
Yeah,
it's like they took that challenge and just continue to amp up the pain.
I have no idea what they're going to do for next season. It's like, this is like, honestly, like top tier. It's like, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, especially with it being another Brains versus Brawn season. Like, I feel like they're gonna have to do something maybe similar to the first Brains versus Brawn, but with how smart David Forrester is, he'll probably think of something new. So, and then we'll be like, wow, this is creative. So
I have faith.
Yeah. Well, with that, we're done with Australian Survivor. So we hope you've enjoyed like our interviews and especially in these two part of this season. And yeah, but we're not done with International Survivor. So Matt, Michael, and I are going to continue. We're going to do Michael's homeland. It is time for
coming to my side of the pond.
Yeah, so we're going to Survivor UK, the only season, well, not counting the early 2000s ones, but yeah, the one from last year, hosted by Joel.
Joel Dommett.
Yeah, Joel Dommett. Yeah,
Joel Dommett.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a lot to say about this.
Yes.
I made it pretty far in the auditions. I should have been out there, and I got some opinions on this hot mess of a season. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I have definitely mixed feelings as well, but there's a couple standout players that I'm excited to talk about. There's a couple that we definitely don't like that we're gonna get to bash. So I'm excited for that.
We'll talk about it, but to me, the players I don't like, I can handle. It's the players that did nothing. There are so many nothing players in this season who took my spot and took my chance to win Survivor, and I will be pissed till the end of my days because they got cancelled because it wasn't good enough. But we'll cover that next week.
Yeah, we will definitely cover that next week, and seemingly maybe we'll still see some of them again in the future, but we'll talk about that. So very excited to move forward with Matt and Michael and continue our International Survivor coverage. South Africa will be after UK. So with that, we will see you all next time on the Tribe of Nerds.